Hello everyone and welcome to another Tinfoil day. Today it's on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. Sorry, got busy yesterday so I wasn't able to do the stream, but welcome today everyone. Glad you're doing well, at least I hope you are. Forgot my glasses. It is the first day of Costume Month Part 2, so today y'all voted on Tinfoil, and you shall receive. So here I am in my tinfoil costume. We are still doing the poll for what new costumes you want me to buy, and that poll is pinned in the announcements channel of the Discord. So if you'd like to vote on that, make sure you go to the Discord and follow the link on the announcements channel that is pinned. I believe the top two options right now are Miss Frizzle and Judge. Those are the leading candidates at the moment. Alright, let me fix this. So, vote if you haven't, if you care. Cool beans. Fix that. Cameron, thank you for a membership on YouTube. Appreciate it. Wow, this really doesn't want to cooperate today. Holy fuck. I'm gonna murder someone. I'm so frustrated and upset today. Here, let's try it again. Uno. Dos. Good enough. Alright, let's see what Cece's up to. Hey, Royland, how's it going? Can you do a hats off? Only if it's something that could fit on top of all of this. So tell me what it is before you do it, because I don't know if I'll be able to combine it.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC here, Chris, from New York, Westchester County. It's 6/27/24. The month of June gone already. Can you believe that? I'm telling you, I feel like we're in some kind of time warp. These weeks are just going by.
That's what happens when you get older.
So quickly now, it's unbelievable.
Or maybe he's having fun.
You know, they do say when you get older, time seems to pass quickly. I'm going to disagree with you on that. It's just been...
But you're older and you just said time's going by quickly. How can you disagree with that sentiment? You just espoused it.
Recently, I've noticed this, so I don't know, whatever. Have you seen any meteors lately?
It's interesting to me that he says he disagrees even though he clearly doesn't disagree. I think he just likes to disagree with what's considered the universal sentiment. So whatever's the, you know, common knowledge, and that's not to say common knowledge is always right, it isn't, but I think he kind of prideful in being against whatever the majority opinion might be on something, because he's smarter than everyone else. At least he thinks.
No. No, you haven't. Have you ever seen a meteor go up rather than going across? No. No, you haven't.
Chris, from your perspective, it's always going to be coming down because the amount of sky that you can see in a given area is going to be quite local. What are you talking about? Geology, thanks for 100 bits.
Have you seen a real diagram of the interior of Earth?
What's a real diagram? By its very nature, is a diagram not a copy of some sort of real thing, a facsimile?
No. No, you haven't.
Kind of the nature of models, you know? It's a model.
Have you seen anybody land on the moon recently?
Recently? Someone landed a rover. I don't remember if it was India or China. I think China landed a rover on Mars in the last couple of years. Benekagami says, in other news, or rather, in other words, CC is a human old man, Flat Earth Brian Griffin.
Any man on the moon? No. No, you haven't. You haven't seen that in over 50 years, huh? Oh, but you didn't see it anyway because most of you weren't even born, or you were listening it on the radio. No, you haven't. Have you seen a star recently?
Yeah. Not up close, luckily.
No. No, you haven't. Seen lights in the sky.
Yes, some of the lights in the sky are stars. Some are planets. But most of them are stars, including the sun.
But you can't justify that they're stars. As a matter of fact, when you focus in on them, they look like little circles of light.
I mean, from far away, yeah, that's what they look like, especially if you're looking at them through an atmosphere with your camera.
Or water. Some of them even have shapes. Isn't that amazing? But no, you haven't seen any stars because you don't know what a star looks like. You've never seen one before. I can tell you what a light looks like from far away, and that it eventually disappears when it gets to a certain distance and the light is gone. I can tell you that. But no, you haven't seen any of that. Have you seen any UFOs? No. No, you haven't. You know why you haven't seen any? Well, UFOs is one thing. I do believe they're unidentified flying objects up there, but they're certainly not from anywhere that you think that they're from, other planets or something like that, because
I should have broken clock is right twice a day on the bingo card for when a conspiracy theorist accidentally arrives at the correct conclusion. Yes, Chris, UFOs are likely not alien spacecraft. I would agree with that sentiment.
Planets don't exist.
The difference is he thinks they're intentionally created to give the impression of spacecraft when they are not. But I'll take it.
No, they don't. Ancient civilizations did one time occupy this area. That's right. God the Creator created this for you, and also other civilizations have been here before.
It always does that, Briar Rose.
Kind of like a learning curve.
It's part of the VHS-ness of the theme of the thing. It's supposed to do that.
For God, I think.
Nah, I don't think this is Yells at Clouds. It is records in car, though.
In a way, he or she, whoever it may be.
He's not mad enough for it to be Yells at Clouds. I think he has to get madder. And maybe he'll get there by the end of the video, but I don't think he's quite there yet.
Fooling around, with things, and or maybe our governments and all together throughout the world that we live in, this flat land, have created this animosity that we're all in. Different languages, different beliefs, different gods.
Radiology says, God the Creator made this for me? Thanks, I hate it. Right. Why didn't he pack a gift receipt? This is bullshit. I would like a return, please.
One time I believe there was a civilization that everybody was together. Everybody thought together. That was a
like the Borg? Also, you're kind of just describing the Tower of Babel story a little bit, which I assume is intentional, but he's talking like it's an original thought and not one of the key stories of Abrahamic religion. Doriador says, in the blockbuster of life, someone had rubbed me over the demagnetizer one too many times. No amount of tracking can get rid of my distortion.
Civilization that got out quick, or probably was eliminated quickly. I'm not sure. We don't know about any of those things because they might have happened thousands of years ago. And we certainly do, well, it's a different... ancient civilizations did exist that would explain why they're blowing everything up. The fires of the 1800s, all around the same time. It was in 1878 there was a fire in every...
Man, it's almost like people were in cramped, unhygienic cities full of people using gas lamps. What could go wrong? Gas lamps in a population with a high amount of alcoholism. I wonder why all these fires kept happening. Also, everyone smoked. Hydrate, can do.
Because they burn things, they destroy things. They destroy the history of previous civilizations, which, in fact, were more advanced than we are. Absolutely. I mean, look at the pyramids, for crying out loud. I don't...
Again, we can build the pyramids. We could build the pyramids today with superior technology. It would be easier. We just don't, because we're not trying to maintain Mott.
I don't even think we can build that right now, to be honest with you. I mean, look at the the aqueduct.
It really seems like an issue of motivation. He doesn't understand that we are not incapable of building a stone pyramid. We just don't have a reason to. Like, there were cultural and historical reasons that pyramids were a thing. We just don't have those reasons in modern day America. We don't have the same cultural and religious, like, concerns that people in ancient Egypt had. I'm so confused. Also, if you want to see a modern pyramid, go to the Big Bass Pro Shop pyramid. There you go. That's the 8th wonder of the world right there.
York itself, okay, is just incredible. And I've spoken about it before, and I'll continue speaking about it because it is absolutely incredible that this tunnel is a couple of 100 miles long, that they have access to all of these reservoirs up and down New York State. They can take the water out, they can put more water in. Individually, it's incredible. Incredible. And all that water goes down to New York City. All done in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Oh, my. Founded.
The Luxor in Vegas is nice. Define nice. I'm not a big fan of Vegas. No offense to anyone who lives in Vegas. I know a few people. But the architecture of Vegas is a blight on a desert, which is impressive because it's a desert, and yet you made a blight that objectively turned a desolate wasteland into a tacky casino town. I will say, it did inspire one of the best Fallout games, so fair enough, but you will never find me in that hellhole of a city. Won't do it. Trey says, I prefer the Luxor here in Vegas, but tell me, Chris, where's the ancient Egyptian skyscrapers?
I'm trying to...
They didn't hold up as well. Should have had bigger bases. That's why the pyramids. Good design philosophy if you want things to last a long time.
Figure out when it was founded exactly. I'll have to look it up, but it doesn't make a difference. But do you know the reason...
How dare I? How dare you?
Why you haven't...
I'm sorry, I'm still salty that they closed the Star Trek experience. If the Star Trek experience was still open in Vegas, I would have praises to sing. But they closed it. So here I am, just mad.
Seen any of those things? It's because you live on a flat land. Planets do not exist. Okay? The diagram you see of Earth is false. It's not correct. It's speculation. It's bullshit. Stars are lights in the sky. There are no pictures of stars. There's nothing. They're drawings. Illustrations, sure. But there's nothing else. Comets, meteors. It's like the Hayden Planetarium, okay? All right. God can put whatever, he or she, whoever it may be, up there.
Fake sky on the bingo card. So on the bingo card from him so far, we have Recordian car, Flat Earth, and the one I just said.
Only gonna go when...
Omega Mart is cool, but again, I'll never get a chance to go, so I'm just gonna be a salty bitch about it. Toriador says, ancient Egyptian planes flew into all the other ancient Egyptian skyscrapers. Obviously, ancient Egyptian alien jet fuel could melt steel beams.
In one direction. It's never gone in any other direction, except across, maybe a little bit down. That's it. Never up. And people still believe they live on a ball. This miraculous, incredible solar system, galaxy, universe, of all of this shit flying around.
If you're on YouTube, by the way, do me a favor and like the stream. Jrodimus, thanks for 31 months, says, I still have music on. Wondered if I could hear that background music. Yep. Jrodimus, thanks for 31 months, says, my favorite stream to put on while I side quest, currently doing my first playthrough of Mass Effect 3 and loving it, and damn, CC trying to give some people bingo out the gate, huh? Enjoy the game. I love the Mass Effect trilogy. MH Dark Beast with a 10 stream streak says, greetings, Hannah. It's not tinfoil, but you need to strike when the iron is hot. Did you see the war crime that is the Twitter cartoon? There's also an AI teaser they pulled down from YouTube. I'll send that link with bits. This is just that guy. I just couldn't give less of a shit about whatever garbage right-wing assholes are trying to pump out to make it look like they're culturally relevant. I'm just so tired.
Board.
I gently suggested
Yelled.
they stop brainwashing my daughter that...
Ugh, I just don't even care.
All of these meteors surrounded with an asteroid belt. That's the kicker, too. I love it. I love that.
What's that crap cartoon? It's trying to do Family Guy and All in the Family, but for conservative assholes, basically.
That's nice. I love that. We not only do we have an asteroid belt that they say that we're surrounded with, but never any of these meteors ever come and hit us. Nah, they never land. Have you
Looks
ever
like
seen
a discount Archie Bunker. Yeah, right-wingers don't understand that you weren't supposed to agree with Archie Bunker.
meteor land at all? No. You haven't? Billions of these cameras out there. Billions, all equipped with HD cameras. Not a single picture of a meteor landing, but billions, trillions, quadrillions of
What are you talking about?
them are out there.
There literally are videos of meteors hitting the Earth. What are you talking about? There are videos of that. What?
We're surrounded with an asteroid belt. Oh, it's Dreamland, Walt Disney World. It's fake. It's all bullshit. And people just don't get it. They still think they live on this stupid, ridiculous Walt Disney World crap. And they think they're going to the moon. I mean, really? How many more decades is it going to take for people to wake up to finally say, what the fuck is going on? Where is all this money going? They surely aren't spending it on space. We should have had a colony on there already. I thank you for subbing. I thank you for viewing my videos. Let me be a part of your life.
Honestly, that was a middling rant from him, and it just kind of petered out. I'm a little disappointed. After him being MIA for so long, I was hoping he'd be a little more intense, but nope. Just kind of meh. So, let's go ahead and take a look. Did I see Chris pre-COVID versus post-COVID? I'd be curious if that broke him. I guess I don't remember any stark difference, really. Okay, let's see. We have Flat Earth. Recording in car. Doesn't understand how cameras work. Project Bluebeam for him claiming the government was faking aliens with UFOs. Racist disbelief of historical achievements. And what was the other one? Sky is fake. That's what it was. Anything else? I think that's it. But I've been known to be wrong before. Yep, 57. Got that. I think that's it. Anyone? Bueller? Bueller. One second. No, I don't think we had believe sci-fi tech exists, did we? What for? Hey, Carpcosian. Wait, Harold Edelman said 11? He didn't actually mention Well... I think it's fair to assume he was referencing Tartaria, even though he didn't say it with the ancient civilizations thing, so fair enough. Benekagami says, my mom's a bit of a conservative and doesn't like All in the Family anymore because she recognizes what an ass Archie Bunker is. Alright, let's see. Trey had a link, and then Freyline also had a link. Let's take a look at these one at a time. One sec. My transitions aren't working very well, ironically enough.
The eyes of the world today stunned by this image. This was debris from a meteor racing toward Earth, streaking across the sky there, crashing into the ground in those woods. And look at some of the other images emerging tonight.
Chris would just say this is fake. And I know it doesn't, it's still good to show the evidence, but that's the unfortunate thing about conspiracy theories, is they're not going to accept evidence like this, because they are motivated to hold on to the belief that they have that's conspiratorial, because usually they hold those beliefs for some sort of protective reason, psychological or social utility, not because it's something that's objectively true. Pretty. Reminds me of the Tunguska Blast of... I can't do a Dan Aykroyd voice. Alright, let's see what we're gonna do next. What is next? Do-do-do-do-do. Ba-da-boo-boo-boo. Oh, this is kind of funny. You know the lady that does the MLM scam that's selling EM radiation protection to conspiracy theorists? She and one of her workers, or I don't know if this is like her co-owner of this business, whoever this is, they're walking us through their scam product production. So let's take a look. Again, if you haven't seen me cover this person, she's involved in a multi-level marketing scam that markets itself to conspiracy theorists that are scared of, like, 5G or Wi-Fi, and says, like, oh, we'll sell you stickers or, like, covers for things that'll protect you from the radiation. It's a big grift. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video of their production process.
And this is Tavon.
And we're from Fix the World, Morocco, where we make handmade products for EMF protection.
Each piece is made by hand, custom to your order.
When you order with us, you are commissioning us to make a piece of artwork just for you.
A piece of artwork? That's an interesting legal coverage. We're not claiming this is an actual EMF protection device. It's a piece of outsider art.
We first started, it was just the two of us making all of our EMF protection products by hand. And since then we've grown, we've hired a whole bunch of people, and we've built a factory. So we're gonna bring you inside of our factory so you can all meet everybody and see what you've made possible.
This is Maribel.
Grifting is the business. Business is good.
She's one of our artisans. We met her through our local church.
Again, one of our artisans. This just makes me think they know this is bullshit. The fact that they're using language to so clearly cover their assholes. One of our artisans. We're simply doing art. And all of our videos fear-mongering about EMF and body area networks, quote. It's all performance art. We're not trying to manipulate mentally ill people into buying our products. We're artists. We're the Dreamlanders, baby.
Doing the resin pour right now, so that's kind of a delicate process. But that's pretty much how we blend in all of our ingredients into the epoxy resin to make our products in our molds. And this is Khadija, our lovely personal assistant. She helps with the operation of the business. She's currently filling out forms for our customers. We have quite a few forms to go through, and
literal scam artists.
She's a very valuable member of the team.
Chilling or scamming on the bingo card, by the way.
And this is also Samuel, and he is another one of our artisans. Really good at what he does. We met him from the local church also. He's from Nigeria.
What's up, Nigerians?
What Samuel's doing, he's actually painting shungite for the black color.
Not the shungite! God damn it! Ashley One Up says, got a picture of Hannah when she took the skin suit off. Oh, God. Oh, no! Alright, hear me out.
Into the molds. before we actually pour the resin in. So he's actually priming the molds with this EMF protection shungite powder.
Shungite organite sleeping pods. Oh boy. Stone Corbell with 100 bits says, I actually have a polished shungite piece in the shape of a cell phone. I just got it because it looked and feels neat, though, not because I think it has magic powers. What is shungite? It's just like a mineral, and it's also something that Dr. Disrespect would make jokes about back in the day, where everyone knew he was a pedophile, creep-ass piece of shit. I mean, people assumed. I always knew he was a piece of shit. I'd go over to a friend's house and they'd be watching it, and I'd be like, I wouldn't get it, because he was clearly such a piece of shit, this Dr. Disrespect guy. So I guess everyone's surprised, even though he was clearly the biggest piece of shit ever from the beginning. I like stuff that's, like, crafty like this, and it's just, like, kind of calm and watching. I wish it wasn't a scam. But the mullet made it ironic. Hey, fun fact, if you're ironically a big piece of shit, you're just a big piece of shit. See, I couldn't do this job. Tactily, it would drive me crazy. I don't like sanding things. It gets dry and powdery, and it gets all over my hands, and it makes me want to cut my hands off. Trey says, you mean to tell me the guy who made being an asshole his personality online wasn't a great dude? Crazy, isn't it? It is, it's rough and it's coarse and it gets everywhere.
Right here today, but when we need to get more of these beautiful things out to our customers, it's us working, you know,
Probably not wearing a dust mask either. No, you get the shungite up in your lungs, and then you're permanently protected with a fine layer of shungite on your, oh fuck, lungs. What are the things in your lungs called? The part that actually takes in the oxygen. Lungite! Oh god, that's a good pun! What the fuck do they call the things in your lung that actually soak up the air? Where's a doctor? Alveoli. Not areolas. Avoli. Anathema. We did it.
Sometimes midnight oil, just us with our hands, making these products to make sure it gets to all of our customers around the world. And we just wanted to show you a little bit of how what's going on right now.
Alveoli?
Some new.
That just sounds like a pasta. Alveoli?
Some new.
Gonna get a big bowl of alveoli.
Stuff that's coming out of the molds. As you can see, we still got the flashing from the resin. This all gets sanded off and cleaned up and washed. But you're seeing.
Overthought says, Avioli gives me the Avioli, give me the formuloli.
In the raw.
It ends with the I sound, Avioli. Avioli. We did it. We got there. Raja, thanks for 32 months and kicking off a hype train.
Come out of the mold. These are all new. Just came out.
37% to level 1 in the hype train.
And here's the molds over here.
Yeah, we got the molds over here.
It always helps the channel for bits and gift subs, and that is me pimping myself. Successfully pimped.
It's a new pour. So this resin is curing it.
Their alveoli will be al dente. Oh god!
Just poured it like over an hour or two ago, and in these molds. And since you're here, I'll show you how we make these molds from our masters. For example, this is a master. This is just something to keep the silicone in.
Cat ears and licking back the hands day. Hey, last time someone paid me almost $100 for that. I'm not lowering my price.
This is a master for our garden pug.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a lot of shame, but it will cost you.
You can see
Just saying.
the pattern for our garden pucks. And we have a masters for our pyramids.
Al, pronounced like the sidekick from Quantum Leap. Now you're speaking my language. Alveoli.
Sleeping pods and
Alveoli.
all these things. And what we do is we pour our masters with silicone here. And the silicone is in liquid form. It has with a catalyst, and it hardens over the course of 24 hours. And
But I'm not dressed like a pimp, and also please don't slap yourself. But I gotta make sure bitch has my money. And I'm the bitch. I won't respect myself if not taught through force. I know me. Hydrate.
24 hours later, you can take this all apart, and you take the mold out, and you have these molds that
Butter nips would cost way more now. True! Geology says, fun fact, al dente is Italian. Fuck it, that'll do. Don't disrespect my to-the-tooth pasta. Delicious. If you want a bowl of mush, fine. Eat your gruel, pleb.
we powder.
I like some structure in my noodle. I don't want it to just melt in my mouth. That's what the cheese is for. Hannah mentions cheese on the bingo card. You got me. I knew talking about pasta would get me there. I knew as soon as that conversation started, I was like, try and avoid cheese. Gonna happen. Did my best.
For the pyramids, for example, this black shungite powder we do to line the inside of our molds. So when we pour them with epoxy resin with our special blend over here of materials, a special blend of all the different powders that have all
Do not Google structure in my noodle. Do not go on hormones if you want structure in your noodle.
kinds of properties and harmonizing EMF and this toxic radiation that's
Hannah regrets what she just said on the bingo card.
all over our planet. And that's how we're able to make these products that you
Overthought, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and getting us over level 1 of the hype train. That's the first batch of gift subs for the month. I appreciate it muchly.
see on the table. You see the display, more of the things that are curing here. And this is like our powdering station, our curing / powdering station. These are the different brushes that we use for the different colors
Well, thanks for watching for over a decade, Carpcosian.
that you see.
Paradona, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and getting us over the next level of the hype train. Thank you very much. Stonecore Bell, thanks for gifting a sub. Very generous with the subs today, chat. Thank you.
And this is our packing station as well. And we have the we have all our
We've not had chemtrails yet, no.
laser printers and everything
58% to level 3 on the hype train.
to get it all shipped around the world. But we just wanted to show you that this is us doing our part. You know, we don't just manage the business, which like just manage the business, but we also still deal with the making of it also.
They must make decent money, and that depresses me because the space they've, like, allocated to this is not insignificant. Like, I don't know if this is property one of them was already renting, or if they rented it specifically for this business endeavor. But either way, a significant amount of floor space and rooms are dedicated to the production of this stuff, which implies they are making money. And that's really sad. That we live in an economy and a society in which all these little grift businesses can exist entirely off the basis that people can take advantage of mentally ill people or misinformed people. It's just depressing. So that's fun. Moira Soma, thanks for gifting a sub, 73% to level 3, and here I am watching it for entertainment while some of you donate money to the show. Truly, we live in a twisted world, and I feel bad for participating in it, if I'm being honest. Alright. How about a person... This is the same person that looked at that sculpture and thought it was an ancient Tartarian thing. He's doing it to buildings. Yeah, but I'm not taking advantage of you, Geology, to my knowledge.
Have to tell you the truth in plain sight.
Soma, thanks for gifting us sub.
All right. I'm back here in Akron. Just getting some more old world buildings. Akron seems to be just littered with them. Look at the detail on this building. This is now a administration.
On the other hand, Geology, it did make me laugh, so...
Building for the Akron Public Schools.
Geology regrets what they just said on the bingo card. Joke. Soma, thanks for gifting a sub and getting us over level 4, I believe. Maybe level 3, I'm not sure.
So, it also, years ago, it was used as a elementary school. The size of this thing. But it has all the symbolism of old world.
Because there's an oil lamp and books? Because that crest is of an oil lamp and books, which it was used as a school, so I would imagine that the crest is meant to symbolize knowledge and its enlightening quality through visual metaphor. Again, my career goal is to become a real-life symbologist, just like real-life, real guy with a real career, Robert Langdon. I don't know why I feel the need to continually reference a book series that no one's cared about in a decade, but...
Sat right here.
Yeah, spurious symbology is evidence.
Akron, looking back at the whole city. They really knew where to build these strategically. Let's get some of the detail in this. This isn't something you're doing in late 1800s, early 1900s.
Why? It's literally just a brick building. It's probably been repaired many times too. And honestly, the exterior facade looks much, much newer. So I don't know at what point they redid the outside, but it looks like it was sometime in the last 40 years.
And I've been asked...
Although I guess it's possible they just also power washed it or something. I'm just trying to say the exterior looks quite clean if it was been around that long, so either they've kept up on cleaning it, or they redid the facade at some point.
Did these old world buildings actually use brick? And I think that's where the Freemason came in. Because I think a lot of these buildings, really, this part of it, and then they just cover over some of it with brick to make it look like it was built in the late 1800s. So there they've laid over top of the original part of the building, 1916. In fact, this was probably built 400 or 500 years ago. Built to last forever. Technology given to us. God. Just literally God.
That's unfortunate. I didn't know that about Dan Brown. .5% level 4 on the hype train.
So here's another example of when they would take an old world building and cover it with brick. And I believe that's one of the jobs of why they were called Freemasons and why they're associated with
Freemasons on the bingo card.
With bricklaying, because it was really not new construction. but to cover up the old world buildings.
The masonry was free. Incorrect word etymology on the bingo card. Minute on the hype train.
That's their big secret. They're hiding the fact that we're in Satan's short season.
Satan's short season is only supposed to last like 7 years. I'm 30. So, like, what? What are you talking about?
And that's what all the brick is for. It covers over.
30 seconds on the hype train. Satan's short season is almost certainly already a band name someone has taken.
The original construction.
It describes an element of rapture theology. They believe that Satan will rule for 7 years, and then Jesus will come and rule for 1,000 years on Earth. So Satan's short season, if you ever hear it in the context of a conspiracy or whatever, is that 7-year period where Satan controls the world. Michelle Gladio says, you give these people old buildings and it's the Masons or the Illuminati. Give them new buildings and it's the collapse of Western civilization and traditional Western values. I just can't, I tell ya. Right? Pretty frustrating. Thank you for the hype train, everyone. But Satan rules for 1,000 years? No, Jesus rules for 1,000 years. Satan is 7, I believe. Unless I have that flipped, but I don't think I do.
That bottom part being the original.
Because Jesus' reign is known as the millennial reign. 1,000 years, the millennial reign.
Part of the color.
Again, this is all nonsense, so it doesn't matter. But, like, it matters in that it is a theology and a belief that certain people have, in particular within the conspiracy community, certain aspects of it, so it's important to clarify these things. So we understand what they're talking about.
Of the building. And then right across the street from this one, and I'll go get a better shot across the street. And then right across the street from that one.
Man, I gotta fix that unbelievably cool, the moose emote. I definitely fucked that up somehow. It's way too tiny.
This big guy, and I'll go get a better shot. I wanted to show the Carnegie Building, established in 1904. Established, not built.
Sorry, that established, not built did some psychic damage to me. The lengths that they will go to try and explain away evidence that they are wrong is incredible to me. Not fun.
So established, and then rededicated 2000. And this is on the National Registry of Historic Places. So this being built in 1904, right? Amazing structure. I am going to go across the street and get a better shot.
We can count that as Hannah's so frustrated she has her head in her hands.
This is a noisy street that I'm on, so I'm trying to get as little background as possible. Look at these windows, just amazing. And there's some more example of just laser printing. A little more detail on this one. Just amazing detail on these huge windows. None of this necessary in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Everything with this granite. How much does weigh? That big slab up there. They're using horse and buggy. Look at this amazing railing. Wow. It's not even shaking. That thing's probably been there 400 years.
I promise you that has not been there 400 years.
Look. Sorry about that. Look at these lights. Yeah, those would have generated their own electricity. The Eagle.
believe sci-fi technology exists on the bingo card.
Huge doorway, again. It's been filled in with windows and etc. But that was the size of the doorway. And this would have been buried, you can see here. So this is probably just the top part of this building. Yeah, right there it says 1899. Yeah, more like 300-400 years ago, but I really do believe we've had time added to our timeline. I think God, Jesus, was here a very short amount of time. 1776 is when it was all. 1776 is when it was all said that it was put together, the country, etc. But I think they added 100 years.
So interesting hearing the events that certain conspiracy theorists always point to when they're doing historical conspiracy theories. And especially for American conspiracy theorists, one that comes up the most is probably 1776. And I think part of this is that Americans in general, I think, have a pretty myopic view of history, because we're taught very America-centric history in school. So I think some people just have a very narrow view of it. So when they're thinking of history, they can't think of a broad subset of things happening. It's all stuff that happened in America's history or world history that somehow directly relates to America. So you often end up with them citing 1776 because that's the most important historical year in the world as far as they're concerned, because it's the one that gets pumped into your head the most as a kid going through public school, because it's the year the Declaration of Independence was signed.
So here's the Carnegie Building, another old world building, said to have been built in 1906. And look at the detail on that. Yeah, the technology God gave us.
Ashley One Up says, what's his obsession with 400 years ago? 400 years isn't that long. I'm currently vacationing in a town where 90% of the buildings are from the 14 and 1500s. We have portraits and drawings to prove it. Again, I think some of this is cultural when we're talking about Americans. To Americans, there's a saying, to Americans, 100 years is a long time, and to Europeans, 100 miles is a long distance. Americans have a very short sense of history, again. So when we think of 400 years ago, it seems like a lot. Our country's just over 200. Whereas, if you don't really... I think, again, it comes from a lack of historical knowledge. To them, 400 years ago is something they can't imagine because they lack the context and actual knowledge to fill it with a model of what the world was like 400 years ago. So to them, it's this black hole that they can fill with whatever their mind imagines. Of course, there are real answers. 400 years ago is not a long time in the scheme of human history. But to them, because it's blank in their head, it becomes a canvas they can put whatever they want on.
Back in those days when these were being built, it's truly amazing. Just the size of these pillars alone, those would never be able to be lifted. And I do apologize for the background noise. The street's busy, even on a Sunday. But you can see the size of that door. I'm
really waiting for him to say giants. That's what he's implying with the door bits, but I don't want to give the bingo space unless he directly says it.
Just massive.
But I do want to point out the reason he's implying the doors used to be much bigger by pointing to the, facades around the doors and saying, see, the whole thing used to be the actual doors, even though it wasn't. Because people who believe in Tartaria often believe there used to be giants that lived amongst humans. In part because of a passage in Genesis about the Nephilim, which they believe are giants that are the offspring of angels and human women.
And another one that has also been buried. You can see that it's on a hill here. But the 3D printing is what just blows my mind. The technology that God gave us to construct these things. And this one wasn't covered over. This is also now used as a law building. There's some writing up there.
Socrates Herodotus.
In the corner over here. Here's a really good
He did say 3D printed.
example of how they covered over these buildings with brick to cover up the old world construction. This is perfect, so they left that exposed. So this building would have been very unique in the way it would have been stacked up and built. And I don't know if it's me, maybe just my eyes, I can kind of just feel what it looks like under the brick that Freemasons used to cover it up.
Ever noticed these guys don't have a background in construction? I have noticed.
So here is the remnants of two huge pillars that were most likely in, the main entrance of, I believe this structure to be that whole building. There was something there, right here, and then that whole building. And I believe this was all one big structure, and this chunk has been taken out, and this has been left. The massive, massive pillars. I mean, there's just for some reference on the size of this thing. So this building, and you can even see here, it was covered.
Actually, One Up says, I don't know how stonemasons do it, therefore lost magic technology.
Over by brick after the fact, but there is.
That's a repair job. That's like quickcrete. That looks like the building, all the mortar was like aging and crumbling, and someone did a really shoddy job with a bunch of quickcrete.
The proof that there was something connected to that building. You can tell all this brick has been distressed by whatever was connected to it being ripped off.
I don't know what's going on with that wall specifically. I'm not a construction person. But I don't think that any heuristic would lead you to believe that the simplest explanation or the most reasonable explanation is an ancient Tartarian building.
This one they fixed up a little bit. You can see how they kind of wrapped around new brick there. So they do their best to hide it, because you can see that this is definitely old world construction here. They have to leave a little bit. These pillars out front here.
Does he think we're incapable of making pillars? My basement has pillars to hold up, like, the structure. Like, what?
And they try to get fancy with their brick overlay, but that's all it is. It's just like Lucy. I call him Lucy, but just like Satan, he doesn't create anything. All he can do is manipulate the perspective, and hide over things. Yeah, I would have loved to see what this structure actually looked like. It probably even went back further, or down, under, way lower.
It probably looked like the brick buildings next to it.
You do get a lot of this one. Those are amazing. I can just feel the energy of what was here. And this happens to be, the address is 1. United 1.
Max Power Switch, thanks for 31 months.
So the United building, they engraved that after the fact. It was nothing with that. The size of the doorway. It's amazing. They've converted this into a commerce building at this point. Just amazing, amazing. This is part of this structure. Look at that marble. Yeah, they're moving marble around in the... Look at that. It's still shiny. And I'm walking uphill.
Obviously, Lady Anne, you were in an ancient Tartarian storage building and didn't know it. Stone Corbell says people inside. Is that guy outside stroking our doors? They're nice doors!
Also, this is buried.
I'm victim blaming the doors.
Just in comparison, I wanted to show this building. This is modern construction. It's just bland. But I do believe this is set on an old site.
You found the site? Nice.
The marble is a big giveaway. Of course, there's your pyramid. So they are telling you. But this is all marble, so there's probably a massive building there.
You can get stuff, you can get a marble countertop today. Does he think we don't have marble and the ability to shape it and do things with it?
Old world structure, torn down from everything. Just wanted to show what was on the corner of this building, the United building that I'm shooting here. Some more marble. Can't make that out. It says, "Is there anything too hard for the Lord?" Genesis 1:8.
Genesis 18:14. Chapter 18, verse 14. You did miss CC, I'm sorry.
Right above the one. Just another one to show you. There's so many inaccurate. I'm gonna go around and get more specific on a lot of them, but covered over by brick.
Akron, Ohio is a hotbed of secret conspiratorial nonsense.
Interesting name there on the front. And this just goes all the way down. It's the old world construction on this one.
Alright, moving on. Just interesting how the Tartaria people are able to look at basically any building and decide that it's secretly ancient. Sad. Remember the remote viewer gentleman that we watched a while back? Well, we have another one from him, and it is them remote viewing the year 2050, 26 years in our future. So let's go ahead and take a look. We can take a bingo check, sure. Let's see. We have Ancient Wisdom, Spurious Symbology, Incorrectly believes evidence is self-evident, we'll go with Giants. He didn't say it, but I know he meant Giants with the door thing, and it's gonna bother me if I don't, so. Apparently there was a fire in that building. It was abandoned for decades, and they tore down the inner building to make a park in the 60s. Wow. Almost like there's an explanation for things, and things aren't magic. Incorrect word origin is evidence. In the year 2525. Satanic. Hannah puts head in her hands. Hannah regrets something she just said. Hannah mentions cheese. Alright. Caught up, I think. In the year.
Future Forecasting Group decided to try and look at 2050, and we were looking at more health and science-related data for the future, and everybody's...
I don't remember what I said that I regretted, but I know I did.
Sessions came back
I mentioned it at the time.
with all kinds of different, like, just really bad scenarios. You know, is it luminosity data? Is it? But there wasn't corroboration on it. It was a bunch of, I think Derek had a tsunami. I think Naeem had civil war. You know, there's just all this crazy stuff, and we.
So these guys go separately. They have an assignment, in this case, remote view the year 2050, and then they come together and share their results and circle jerk about how they all think they're right, even though their views all contradict each other generally.
We're like, okay, well,
it was both, Baja. Both happened.
What does this mean?
I'm just saying. I'm looking at my session now, and now it kind of makes more sense.
Let's just go through the sessions.
Since I'm already here.
Yep, radiology.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Started out, name.
Looking at the first land, immediately the probe I get was like natural disaster feel. And like,
whoa, sometime in the next 26 years there'll be natural disasters? Those never happen, and especially not with increasing frequency over time due to the effects of climate change.
The sense of mega wind. And I saw people in amongst some kind of vertical structures, like not buildings. You know, I don't know what they were, but people kind of hunched up around these structures in a rural area, and the emotions are like panic, escape, run, natural disaster feel. Then I saw what looks like a government type building, like would have like a fence or walls around it.
You can tell because of the way it is.
A dome area there, and a group of people outside of it. They're angry, they're upset, and it's like takeover or protest, you know, fed up disappointment.
People always love the government. Historically, no one's ever upset with their government. Never happens. Everyone's thrilled all the time.
I even got the word intrusion or intruder in a sense of a rush, so maybe trying to rush into a government building.
January 6th, 2050.
And then I showed this, the people in what feels like a quarantine zone, dangerous environment warning, safe zone. And the probe on them is like, not fair, let us go, release us.
Thanks, Naeem. Who wants to go next?
I can go. Let's see.
Mike Max with a link. Here it takes us.
I can see the future!
Regarding the money, it was like emptying out vaults or something like that, draining out, a big draining situation going on, restricting, removing. It's like
that doesn't even really make sense. If society was collapsing and money was worthless, I don't know if it's really helpful to hold on to the money as an institution, since it's worthless.
Dollar was on its
but whatever
side. Everything felt really shaky. You know, modernization efforts and all that, but it was really this kind of oppression of others and
oh wow, they put a Gadsden flag too. What a very serious individual.
Kind of like, if any of this is true, then
I think since it's the 2050s and this is the future, I think the snake on the Gadsden flag should have a sweet, like, visor or something, like a Geordie visor. Or like maybe one that has like a red beam, like the Knight Rider car kit that goes like vroom, 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 vroom. Just so I can tell it's a Gadsden flag from the future. I feel like in the future, if people aren't wearing sweet visors, I'm going to consistently forget it's a cyberpunk dystopia, and I'd like to remember.
Nothing much new is happening in 50 and 25 years. Okay, so this was more like putting a mark on someone. This could be that mark of the beast stuff. But this is where, you know, the whole feeling of it was this kind of shifting moods between two different parties of people at this kind of tall building here. And some people were happy, some were not happy, and that was kind of the divide. You got the haves and the have-nots. You know, some people are happy and some aren't. So that was the main thing.
That's just historical materialism. That's not a prediction for the future. That's just historical materialism. Whatever. Benekagami says, the Satan evil can't create anything claims are so interesting to me. Yes, it can. Look at all the shit you claim was made by the devil. No, that's a perversion, an evil copy, not a creation, you say. Is the Passion of the Christ not a creation just because it's a dramatization of a Bible story?
Assessing people and things, new levels and different forms of governance, next to new generations, older generations die out, new generations programmed in, tokenization, elements here, man and machine merging elements, very future tech. And so
I think what annoys me about these guys is they don't even go on a limb. You know, if you're gonna just like make claims 26 years out, no one's gonna remember this video in 26 years. You may as well say crazy stuff. You might as well be like, oh, reptilians are forcibly breeding us with each other in order to create livestock, and they're riding us like horses. Like, I don't know. Like, that's nonsense, but at least it's interesting. This is just generic dystopian pap. I have enough of that on a daily basis, so. Jade Monkey, thanks for 10 months, says it's not even typed. No, they gotta write it down freehand. It was natural.
Yes, is there anything here that I can say that is new? You know what I mean? Can I say anything that is actually new instead of all this has been said a million times? Tracking things, people, no, not really. Records is an old practice. It isn't new. It's just evolving.
Thank you, Edward. Okay, so we got Daz, Dick, and Derek left.
That looked like an open eye, but it really had a glow to it. Yeah, some real
Marcus Drake says reptilians can ride me like a horse.
doom and gloom kind of feel here.
I'll let the high command know. Someone will be in touch with you shortly.
Open sea, shocking. Targets seem to involve an oceanic disturbance causing a massive water displacement. People unprepared. Casualties, injuries, not necessarily tidal waves, but enormous waves ripping the coastline. And then
there's what? No, he didn't. I'm gonna go back. He didn't say he saw his dad's dick. What are you talking about?
Doom and gloom kind of feel here. Open sea, shocking. Targets seem to involve an oceanic disturbance causing a massive water displacement. People unprepared. Casualties, injuries, not necessarily tidal waves, but enormous waves ripping the coastline. And an element of objects being smashed, potential missile, comet-like object, land. This is the wave that I see coming, hitting the coastline, and I got the sense that it was man-made. Imminent danger, rushing wall of water, and then here, like a fireball glowing red above the clouds, ripping sound like it's breaking the sound barrier.
Ripping and tearing, ripping and tearing.
Massive detonation impact, water displacement, sending enormous waves in every direction, and then an eerie silence, calm before the storm. But this was like a wave or a wall of water coming toward you. This was not like looking out at the ocean and seeing ocean swell. And then observed from space, massive impact from the surface. Looking at the sky, darkness rushes in, blotting out the sun. Daylight suddenly dark as night. Ominous feeling of dread. Rare event. A few people are prepared for, like a meek will inherit the earth type of reset. Man-made, long-lasting natural consequences.
Wait, what was? I feel like we're skipping the image at the end that you glossed over.
Long-lasting natural consequences.
Bushy, thick eyebrows, heavy-set male, middle-aged Indian or Middle East descent, thinning black hair, dark. Is it Khan Noonien Singh?
Daz, you want to go next?
They've changed canon. I don't know when the eugenics wars happen now. After the 2020s, that's for sure.
I can do. But this isn't realized yet. This feels very fluid and not yet formed, so it's almost like I was looking at something that wasn't, you know, it was in the future. It wasn't an actually
it looked like Donald Trump, the drawing.
Realized thing yet. But I felt like the whole thing would lead to conflict, flames, anger, destruction. But another route over time leads elsewhere. So there's like two routes for the future. One led to the bad stuff here, the fucked up one, and another route led to being okay. But the one that led to the things being okay was a bit farther away than the fucked up one. But it felt very unphysical to me as well. Not physical. So there's like all this was like words and stuff like that. So the target felt not very physical to me. But the thing was, it was just a huge opposing dynamic, energetic, emotional release. And I wrote here, the closest thing I can think of this is like the death of JFK or Diana kind of emotional global feeling or impact. And that's the closest from my personal experience to what I felt that these guys were picking up on. An older male, over 50, very experienced and decisive. But it was like an international influence that he had here, and he had a huge ego and a dark agenda here, and he wanted to be a part of history. And he had a loose plan, which is very strategic, like chess-like.
A loose plan that's very strategic. How can it both be very strategic and chess-like, but it's kind of like a loose plan? I feel like that's contradictory. I'm kind of nitpicking, but that does stick out to me as weird to write one line after the other and not recognize that you've contradicted yourself.
And it involved a lot of spying here, and spying then was a big focus that I picked up on. So I felt that there was a multi-level global scheme that uses spying and comms and people to influence results, and it's all very political, very dark, devious. Lots of things like blackmail being used, safe houses, electrical comms, everything monitored, clearing houses, a vast network of layered people collecting information and manipulating people. And everything to do with this was all political. I looked at the aim for this, and it was just domination, power, control, and ego.
You're confused. He's telling he remote viewed the future. He's claiming he saw 2050, and this is what he saw.
This is all because of a very dangerous man. He uses people. He has a long-term dark agenda.
They're trying to signal towards Antichrist, by the way, for those who can't tell. They have their own, like, pop cultural and Christian nationalist narratives, and then they fill their visions with them. I'm not saying they're consciously doing that. I'm saying they're basically doing free association writing. They're just, like, writing and writing and writing, and it gets filled with narratives they're already primed to see, which are Christian nationalist futures where things are terrible and the government's doing everything, and it's all secretly a cover for the Antichrist. So that's why the story is like this, is because those are narratives that they have been fed to believe are the future.
He has
he had a dream, daydream. They're awake when they do this.
Warlike agenda with destruction, anything goes. And he's secretly manipulating everything on many levels, using a complex team of people, intel trained, social trained, spies, and lots of covert activity. It's an information game. There's a plan, which is to do with movement over borders, a bit like a land grab. And it felt very high up, presidential, or, like a top command structure here, lots of spying, again, info gathering, manipulation, with AOLs here of Washington.
Thank you, Daz. Very interesting. And then, Dick, you're up last.
I went full Edward Reardon right off the bat. This is full Edward Reardon. While everything around it is crumbling, the obelisk remains. So, woo.
Very ominous. Very ominous.
Yeah. What if they sentenced Trump to jail and 50,000 patriots surround him and say, nope, we're not going.
What? What does this have to do with 2050? Trump's like 80. He's not making it to 2050. I don't know if I'll make it to 2050, and I'm 30. What?
We're not, just like form a human chain 500 deep, like surround when they try to take him out. I got the idea of people witness a dramatic energy thing, but it's manufactured. It's like an AI or hologram. So, yeah, my theme of this is stuff is created out of nothing. Like you're witnessing things that don't really exist. Big light shows, like you see a lot of things.
This is Project Bluebeam. Again, they're taking pre-existing conspiracy theories and just acting as though, like, yep, I saw it in my vision of the future. Our conspiracy theories are right. These aren't even, like, original creations of ideas. They're just re-spewing conspiracies that already exist on the internet as if they're visions they're having.
Like Project Bluebeam, I guess. A lot of people see something big and dynamic, that's manufactured. Dramatic cell phone videos, but it's designed and created.
You know what's interesting is that, we're going.
He'll be 66. In 2050, I'd be 56, which is disgusting. Hydrate.
Through all these sessions and
So I guess that's 2050. It's the wet dream of a bunch of weird conspiracy theorists on the internet. Surprise. Oh, my favorite. Creepy conspiracy theory videos made with generative AI. Uses AI on the bingo card.
Hey everyone, this is Randy from the Opinion Punch with an Opinion Punch exclusive. James Winkler is an individual who claims to have spent time on Mars with a secret U.S. space program.
Well, that's a weird thing to claim.
And he has now come back to tell us of his experiences. So make sure you sit back for this one. Your story is a fascinating one. Can you start from the beginning, from recruitment to the time in which you're actually performing missions with the Space Force?
Yes, sure. So I was...
Please, any of the peeps from Britain, from the UK, vote, please. Please vote.
Recruited by the United States Secret Space Program when I was 9 years old. Training took place on Luna Central Command and lasted for 2 years. I received...
Your poor bone density. Spending 2 years in low gravity on the moon's gonna fuck your bones up. Your bones are gonna be toast.
One last mission brief.
Wait, microgravity fucks up your bone density, for those that don't know. It legitimately fucks up your body.
Then we jump gate.
You've not had 5G yet, no.
It's Mars, where I was stationed for a little over a decade.
Okay, so let's back up here for a bit, if you don't mind, so that we don't lose listeners. Can you explain Luna Central Command? What is that?
Sure.
Sounds like that would be a base on the moon.
So,
you really need that explained?
Luna Central Command is the USSSP's main training facility on the moon. Children who are identified and recruited for Project...
Oh, child soldier, AI, great.
Moon Shadow, trained there for 3 to 5 years before deploying to a designated mission station.
So you trained on the moon for 5 years?
Just under 5, yes.
And what is it you're training for? Like, how do you train?
Well, that depends on the mission you're chosen for. Your training is tailored towards your mission. So when you're recruited, your mission is determined based on what the recruitment assessment team feels are your best qualities and natural...
The voice sounds AI. It probably is. It might be based off a transcript of an interview he did, because there are people who claim this super soldier stuff. There's a whole other channel we watch sometimes with people who tell stories about claiming to have memories of being in a secret space program and time traveling and living on Mars and all these same tropes. So it might just be a written interview that he made audio using AI voice generator thingies.
Abilities. I was chosen to do intelligence because I scored high on emotional intelligence assessments and have a very sharp mind.
So I don't understand.
AI video and images are getting much more prevalent in conspiracy theories, by the way. Conspiracy theory videos, and I don't mean to be rude. This is going to come off as, like, insulting for the sake of it, and it's not. I simply mean this as, like, as an objective observation as I can about conspiracy content, it is lazy. Conspiracy theory content broadly is incredibly lazy and is made by people without a lot of motivation to go out and learn how to edit things competently and do a lot of work. Not a moral judgment, just an observation I'm making. So AI-generated content has become pretty prevalent in the space, at minimum using images that they'll have generated, but the video is becoming more common now, too, as the price for, you know, generating the video has gone down. So I assume this is going to continue to invade conspiracy spaces, but I don't know.
You're training on the moon, and it's a secret program.
I like that you can tell that this armor, like, it's weird that, like, AI companies are like, it's not plagiarism, but then you look and you're like, you can see all of the different elements that went into the training on this one. You can tell there's a little bit of Master Chief in there. You know what I mean? Like, you can pinpoint the different things that the AI is using to make this. I don't mean to turn this into a whole thing about AI and generative bullshit, but, like, they just ripped off Master Chief and then threw in some other shit. Cat makes a guest appearance on the bingo card.
But how does it remain secret? I mean, surely just the length of time alone, over 10 years, would suggest an inquiry that could very well expose the program, right?
Not really. So key to the program is the time travel component. 20 years on Mars is around 2 hours here. So what?
That's not true. Time dilation is a thing, but not to the severity that they're saying between Mars and Earth.
You're done with your mission.
It's not that planet from Interstellar, is what I'm saying. They're basically literally just ripping off that scene from Interstellar where they're on the planet for like 20 minutes, and then they come back on the ship and it's been 20 years. Even the amount of time is roughly similar, so they couldn't even come up with an original time difference.
You come straight back to Earth where roughly 2 hours has passed.
Wow.
You also must keep in mind that when we transport, we do so in temporary shales of our...
Also, time dilation isn't time travel. I guess that's a philosophical difference more than a scientific one. Retracted.
Our bodies. So had my parents come into the room while I was gone, I don't know if they did or didn't, but had they done so, they would have seen my physical self. But had they tried to wake me, they would not have gotten a response.
Blue.
So the shell...
Why you gotta fuck everything up?
...is a replica of your actual body?
Correct. It's an exact replica of your body, yes.
Interesting stuff. So you train for 3 to 5 years, then you go out on your mission. What was that like? I mean, what was your mission?
Training days would be roughly 8 to 12-hour days. Training for me in the beginning consisted of mostly physical activities, running, survival skills, mixed martial arts, and weapons training. Towards the end of my training mission, the focus was much more on sharpening and tailoring my thinking for intelligence work. Deception exercises, behavior analysis, modeling and simulation, and data analysis.
And what specifically were you training for? Ultimately, what was your mission?
My mission was to identify and eliminate all actors responsible for the collapse and enslavement of the human race.
Reptilians on the bingo card. Oh yeah, they're using AI. This whole video is like AI images and stuff. Blue. Fucking with my phone.
Whether
like
or not it's true, I can't tell you. Obviously, you have to figure it out for yourself. But I can tell you this. It's an interesting story. This is part 1 of several parts to this.
Of several parts. There is a part 2. This is the most recent part.
Thank you for joining me once again. I want to pick up where we left off. So you're in the United States Secret Space Program, the USSSP, and you've been trained...
That doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
...to do intelligence work.
I feel like it's weird to put secret, like, in the name of your organization, but the Secret Service exists, so there's precedent.
Who is that? Who is it that you're gaining intelligence from?
That's a great question.
Oh God, what is that? I'm sorry, I know this isn't the focus. This isn't make fun of AI, day. It's tinfoil.
You're gaining
But what is the run cycle on this fucking guy on the left here? The soldier in the backpack. What is this? Oh
That's
god,
a
his
great
leg
question,
keeps...
Randy.
Oh,
USSSP collects intelligence
I feel like AI video is getting worse. What is happening?
on all non-human actors, friendly and non-friendly. I spent most of my time in the field working the Reptilian issue. These are advanced beings from the Crozar star system with whom we
Crozar.
have an extremely adversarial relationship with. As a matter of fact, they are the biggest threat to humanity in the future. But other than reptilians, we have relationships with apezors, Rystros.
I'm sorry, is that a Bigfoot species? This is a species of big feet. Hell yeah.
And the Attaches. The level of hostility with these other beings vary from time to time.
Okay, well that's just a space suit that they ripped off from H.R. Giger. Again, just a plagiarism machine. What the fuck? Like a Starborn spacesuit from Starfield mixed with the Xenomorph.
But for the most part, relations are friendly, at least during the times of my deployment.
That's Starship Troopers mixed with riot cops mixed with the military uniforms from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, which are the uniforms from Starship Troopers, but slightly different.
So why then do we have a belligerent relationship with the Reptilians?
The Reptilians are an advanced species who are fighting a major intergalactic war with Rystros. The war had just started once I began basic training on Lunar Central Command and was near its conclusion by the time...
Generative AI may be starting to pick other AI results as part of the training data, and that would cause quality to decline. Honestly, if it Ouroboroses itself into oblivion, that would be the funniest thing for AI to do. It just eats its own tail until it's useless.
My deployment ended.
So around 10 years then?
Yes. At least 10.
Which one of these is my species? The Reptilians. Obviously. I've told you that.
I have no way of knowing how long the war lasted after leaving, but yet...
What does how long even mean when you're talking about species that could time travel? Time War doesn't really have a set objective amount of time, right? It's going to be subjective based on people within it and their perspectives.
Yes, at least...
Sorry, Doctor Who fan.
10. And like I said, it was thought that...
Point is, a time war would be forever and never at the same time.
That an armistice was close to being signed, at least in our inner circle.
The Bigfoot species has an emissary named Mr. Henderson.
And
Harry and the Hendersons is a classic, and John Lithgow is incredible and doesn't get the credit he deserves. Not just for Dexter Season 4, although he is the highlight of, frankly, I think, the whole series Dexter. Yeah, he's good. He also did a really good audiobook reading of Oh, the Places You'll Go from Dr. Seuss. Would recommend.
What was the reason for the conflict?
There's a unique substance known as spirodust that, when used regularly, doubles the lifespan of both
There's a
reptilians.
good lesbian romance book about a time war. Great stuff. Is it that book? Something, How to Lose the Time War? Or How to Lose, forget it. I have it on Audible, but I haven't listened yet.
And Rystros. There was initially a trading relationship between the two groups, but those relations deteriorated after the assassination of leader Berthard Wadama at the annual Solar System Security Conference. Suspicion immediately fell on the Rystro contingent, and the investigation that followed
They're
confirmed...
just copying Dune. Almost, the fact that AI is so derivative is almost perfect for the content of conspiracy theorists, because their beliefs are derivative. And don't get me wrong, everyone's beliefs are derivative to an extent, you know? We all get our information from the society in which we live, and the media we consume, and the books we read, whatever. But conspiracy theorists are somehow even less transformative than the average. They just kind of mishmash stuff together from media they've seen. So it almost makes sense that they're so enamored with AI generation. It's inevitably going to create images and videos that are evocative of cultural touchstones they're already familiar with, so it's going to ring true to them because they already view media as a reflection of the real world, not in the way that it actually is, but in a way that they think it is hidden. They're hiding truths in media, and when they see the output of the AI and it's evocative of that kind of imagery, it's going to have a sort of truthiness to it that makes them put more credence in it than they should.
This until he corroborated the investigators' conclusions.
Oh god, what's wrong with that guy's head? Oh.
As well.
Why do you think the Rystros would assassinate the Reptilian's leader? Had relations been souring?
Yes, but not to the extent that would warrant what they actually did. We assumed that both groups calculated that war would be too costly, but we were wrong.
Why would the Reptilians not be wearing a helmet?
So the war starts.
I feel like this is strictly, like everyone else was wearing helmets. I feel like this is literally just because the AI couldn't figure out how to put on helmets on the Reptilians. So they're like, fuck it, reptile head, that's enough.
And lasts for at least 10 years. And it's over substance?
Yes, it's called spiral dust and drastically slows the aging process. Both Rystros and Reptilians had depleted most of their sources of the substance on their own planets, and when spiral dust was discovered on Mars, well, that's when the trouble began.
MH Darkbeast says, please Hannah, the Time War wouldn't last forever. The War Doctor would just join the other doctors to send everyone into a pocket universe.
But you see, the Rystros wanted Leader Bird.
Reptilians have scales. Fun fact about scales, not bulletproof.
Heard Watermark gone because they figured it would be a lot more difficult to colonize Mars for themselves with him around. They calculated that Reptilians would become so disorganized without their leader that they would not be able to mount any kind of counter to a Rystro offensive for resources on Mars, to include spiral dust.
This is really amazing, James.
This is amazing.
And what years was all this taking place?
The war started in the year 2077, and like I said,
oh yeah, the war started in 2077. That sounds like something AI would write too, because that's also the year the war started and ended in Fallout. 2077. Again, did an AI write this? Because it feels like that's something the AI pulled, like, year the war started in the future, and it pulls up all of its, you know, massive amount of data to look through, and it finds future end of the World War date, and then it finds the Fallout franchise and all its lore that it inevitably has within its system and pulls out 2077. Also Cyberpunk 2077, yeah? Yep. AI probably wrote this.
It was still going on the year I left, which was 2087. Let me just say the war was still going on, but it looked as if an armistice would be signed, which is why I've always maintained my assignment ended so abruptly. The conflict was over, or at least winding down.
This is really amazing stuff. Scary, really. But you mentioned last time about the enslavement.
It's scary if you believe literally everything anyone says to you is an immediate truth.
Of the human race.
Which you shouldn't do.
How does all of this tie in with the enslavement of the human race?
10 years
wrong with the faces on this one? Oh god.
of war is never good and always costly. Well, that's an understatement, for the devastation caused by this war is truly unbelievable. The equivalent to several cities here on Earth would be destroyed in one medium-sized battle in this war. I mean, the loss of life, you know, it's still gut-wrenching to me. But I'm pretty sure the war was nearing its conclusion based on some documents I found. And
like in a video game, you found some documents in the environment, you know, good environmental storytelling, and Andrew Ryan came on the dictaphone and explained the war was almost over.
Well, this part gets a bit touchy because in order to tell it accurately and truthfully, I have to recall up things that may be better left in the past.
That's convenient for you, isn't it?
But for the interest of us all, for humanity, I'll continue. So after the assassination of leader Bird,
Almost fell off the table.
the Reptilians split into two
I kind of hate that they keep calling it the Reptelligents instead of just like reptilians.
factions. Those who wanted to fight and revenge, and those who wanted to take a more diplomatic course. War was chosen over peace.
I like that the reptilian in the middle kind of has like a flesh collar that they have popped. Gotta pop the flesh collar. Beach Dark Beast says, did someone say amazing? Oh god, is this Jesse?
There's just no way. They also made an AI trailer for this. Look it up. Hilarious AI film starring Elon Musk.
No, they didn't.
On YouTube or God.
You posted this meme?
Yes.
And you posted this comment?
Yes.
Mr.
How is that not embarrassing? How is that?
That's disgusting. What the fuck?
And that's what it was for 10 years. Now, fast forward 10 years, and what do you get? War wariness, which works in the favor of the Reptilian faction opposed to fighting in the first place. Large-scale revolution took place on the Reptilians' home planet, and many of the leadership who did not escape the planet were either imprisoned or killed. I was in close proximity to someone in Reptilian leadership who had behaved like a war criminal to any Reptilian opposed to war, and to the woman I fell in love with. The only one.
Why is there a love story now? What? That was the wrong link? Okay, let's try this one.
Amazing. That is amazing. 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 Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. 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 That is amazing.
I hate him so much.
We were on planet Moran in the Crozar star system.
Moran? That's not a very nice thing to call the planet. I'm sure it's doing its best.
In a village in the forest, not unlike the Amazon on Earth.
Oh no, is this gonna be Avatar? Did he fall in love like an avatar and he's gonna fuck with their hair?
The animals were so exotic. An ostrich-looking being with 2 heads.
And they're so exotic. Like, for instance, an ostrich with 2 heads. That's AI's idea of exotic, as an animal that already exists, but with 2 heads. Ooh. This is why you need writers. What are we doing? What are we doing?
A round furry creature with one big eye that could
It's a stuffed animal! What? Why did it make it a stuffed animal?
mimic human speech. I mean, just crazy stuff. So we're there. I'm camped out with a group of Rystros posing as traders.
Oh god, what direction were they even walking?
With a
What direction are they walking?
Rystros posing
Oh
as
god!
traders. And the woman I had fallen for was actually in the home of the target, the Reptilian war criminal who we wanted to assassinate. So we traded during the day, and at night, with assistance from our plant on the inside.
Oh, how, what? Is this how you hold? Oh god, what is it? Oh, I want you to stare at this image, humanity, and look what we've wrought on this planet! Look at the disgusting produce of our efforts! Untold generations of strife for this! I hate everything in the world.
We plotted for revenge for Rystros and for human interests, which was to keep them
When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have got?
less belligerent Reptilian leadership in power.
And your love interest is a woman, a human, correct? I'm not really clear on this point.
Yes, she was human.
Yeah, I'm not a scaly. What are you talking about? What? No, she was definitely a human mammal woman, okay? I'm not into cold cloaca at all. I like warm holes. Lucas Dawn, thanks for 37 months.
She was human, and I say was because her life tragically ended in serving all of us.
Not your imaginary conspiratorial waifu.
She made the ultimate sacrifice and will never be forgotten.
What happened?
She stumbled across official Reptilian government papers suggesting a conspiracy of all conspiracies. While uploading this data to our system, she was caught and apprehended, but not before completing the upload. Like I said, sadly, she lost her life in service to humanity. The story varies as to actually what happened. She may have been shot on the spot after being discovered, or may have been thrown off the ship, forever lost in space.
Could the AI not figure out her being in space for this part? Why is she got thrown out of space? But there's buildings in space like a city?
And,
keeps using different looking women in each scene. Yeah, AI can't keep consistency.
She is why I have taken up this task.
At least as of right now. Maybe that'll change. I don't know. I don't know how the technology works enough to comment on its future progression. I have no idea. But as of right now, it can't really keep things consistent between generations. Even within a generation, things can move around. Kagami says, AI definitely wrote this. Look how all over the place it is. I mean, that love interest came out of nowhere. Yeah.
To inform humanity of what was discovered so that we all can prepare.
And what was discovered?
Documents outlining the terms of the peace treaty between Rystros and Reptilians. After having it translated, the consequential nature
to serve man
of the document in which we possessed couldn't be overstated. And it was at this moment my deployment.
Yeah, we'll check bingo after this.
Abruptly ended.
And what did the document reveal?
It's a cookbook.
The terms of an alliance between the Rystros and Reptilians, brokered by a human, a traitor, someone we all know too well. And it's with this human that the possibility of humanity as we know it could end. Let me explain. During my last few months...
I like that they just say, we all know who, because you as a conspiracy theorist can project whatever world leader you hate the most onto the character of the person that sold humanity out. So it could be like Joe Biden or anyone that you don't like personally. That's the person that sold us out.
On deployment, it was discovered that human flesh, when burned and mixed with other substances native to Mars, turns into a very potent form of spiral dust. The deal hammers out the terms of the peace.
Again, humans being harvested for some sort of resource is not original in fiction. The Twilight Zone episode, To Serve Man, Children of Earth, Torchwood. Sure, there's countless examples. Those are the ones that come to my head first, though.
Which is to include
the Human Horn episode of Futurama, yeah.
Of all of humanity to be evaluated.
Destroy all humans, yeah. Bittergrin says, oh my god, who could have guessed Donald Trump would sell us all out to aliens? No, the Matrix was robots, not aliens.
Then either consumed or made as slaves to rich reptilian plantation owners on Mars.
No.
Rich reptilian plantation owners. There's plantations on Mars? Oh god! Where are we gonna put the Mason-Dixon line? In space?
Oh, that's not all. The document also reveals who the traitor is. A man of great wealth and a solver of human problems.
Oh no, it's Elon!
Someone who has spent a great deal of time and resources in human travel and communication, and who is an expert in rockets. This person is also someone who suspiciously and aggressively advocates for human travel to Mars.
James, are you there? Hello? James.
Oh no, Elon got him!
James.
Elon heard he was talking shit, so he activated the X app on his phone and had it explode against his head. The nuts hate Elon? It depends. You can't think of, and I know it becomes easy to do this, and I broadly group conspiracy theorists, but when it comes down to it, you can't really take any one particular belief and say all conspiracy theorists believe it, because there's a lot of differences amongst what they believe. It's easier if you're talking about, like, modalities of thought, it can more broadly apply, but in terms of specific beliefs, it varies in no small part between individual conspiracy theorists and different groups of conspiracy theorists. So some of them like Elon, some of them hate him, some of them just lump him in with other wealthy, powerful people. Just depends. Anti-Semitism is pretty much everywhere, though. Yeah. So apparently there will be a part 3, which we'll take a look at someday when it comes out. Let's take a look at the bingo card and see what, if anything, we get to add. Illuminati, Freemasons, Cabal. Aliens did it. Weather control on the bingo card. Reptilians. Clintons, Bidens, Obamas, for their vague statement about a politician. They're trying to say one of them. Doesn't understand architecture for the Tartaria building stuff. Yeah, Mark of the Beast was mentioned. Shilling, scamming. Believe sci-fi tech actually exists. Uses AI, of course. Did I see the Lego Jaws set that was recently revealed? No. Do you have a link? I'd love to take a look. Where's Mark of the Beast? There it is. Alright, I think that gets us up to date. Wait, what was 84? Sorry. I always click right when it seems like someone has some other one. Oh, yep, Cat makes a guest appearance, thank you. And what was the one? Yep, 62, we got it. Okie dokie, I have to use the bathroom real quick. We are at the 2-hour mark, so while I use the bathroom, Chair will tell you about Time Addicts. A movie about a recreational drug that lets you travel through time. Be back. I'm back. Let's see what we're gonna do next. How about this? Moira Soma, thanks for
Today's
gifting a
guest
sub.
This is retired Chief Master.
Here's the Jaws Jaws Lego set. I love Lego. Oh, yay! That's fucking awesome. That's a nice model of the Minnow, too. Or not the Minnow. The Minnow's the ship from Gilligan's Island. In Jaws, it was, don't tell me, I'm not gonna look. In Jaws, the ship was not the Minnow, it was the... And they have a second one in Jaws 2, and then the Jaws ride has another one. Damn. Okay. Alright. I can't remember. Someone tell me. What's the name of the ship? The Orca? Shit. Gotta remember. I gotta remember that. That bugs me that I didn't remember that off the top of my head. No, that's great, though. I guarantee this is super expensive, though, because that's a nice Lego set, and Lego sets are already really expensive. Yeah, $160. Yeah, I'm guessing I won't be getting that, but it's very nice. It is very, very nice and very cool.
Sergeant John Myler. This is an incredible interview, part 2. You're going to want to buckle up for this one. Let's go.
So there's two types of Nephilim, human. Most were giants, not all.
Giants on the bingo card?
Some were animal-human hybrids. And that
I think if I ever wrote a book about conspiracy theories, it would be called We Want to Believe. And I think the overwhelming theme of the book would be how conspiracy theories are driven by motivated thinking, and how people use them often as social or psychological coping mechanisms. I only say that because of the poster.
that's why we have this whole pantheon of cryptids.
If you had $160, you'd probably just buy food to survive. Yeah, that and rent, you know. One of those things. Fun as plastic Lego sharks are. Being an adult sucks.
What, for example, is most likely a Nephilim angel gorilla hybrid. Something like that.
Angel gorilla hybrid, hell yeah!
And he has supernatural abilities from the angelic side. So he could pop in and out of this dimension. And he's really hard to track down. I don't know if they're entirely native to this dimension. They might be really close to it and they just phase in and out. And when they die, they just disappear. There's probably
like Mobius Dick.
A whole range of beings that I would say are trans-dimensional beings. They're sort of here, sort of not. I had a friend in Thailand, talked about these creatures that roam around in the Thailand jungle, that they sort of have this horse's head, but this body and these really long arms, and then as the torso.
Real quick, check out these statistics. Gold, it's gone up about 81% the past
Oh no, shilling gold.
5 years. The past 12 months, almost 20%. Central banks are ditching the US dollar and US treasuries and
they're not
purchasing gold by the tons. Now, there's obviously never any guarantees, so you follow what the money funders are doing, what the MFers are doing. So what's the good news? Well, many predict gold is just getting started.
Many predict.
UBS even said it was going to go up to $5,000. Now, that's pretty awesome news if you ask me. Noble Gold Investments, their phones are ringing off the hook. It appears that everybody wants to protect their retirement with gold and silver right now. You can do the same. Noble Gold Investments can help you secure some gold to protect your future. From day one, you will work with a dedicated all-American expert. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced investor.
Did he just say gold was going to go to 5,000? It's only at 2,300 right now. That would be over double the highest it's ever been, I think. That's an absurd claim. Oh my god. He's trying to claim gold's going to more than double. What the fuck? That should be illegal to claim.
Gold Investments will make sure you get all the help that you need. This month?
No, I don't think his background... Well... Maybe it's AI. I can't tell if it's AI or just generic.
Noble Gold...
The Porsche looks pretty specific to be AI. Usually AI would make kind of a more generic vehicle, but I think that specifically looks like a Porsche.
Investments will give you a free,
I don't know,
1/4 ounce solid gold coin to add to your collection if you open up an account with Noble Gold Investments. Find out how to qualify. Their number is 1-877-646-5347. Go to leakprojectgold.com, get the free ebooks, let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you, and check out noblegoldinvestments.com. Now is a better time than ever to convert your 401 or IRA, unless it was last week or last month. Give them a call. You'll be glad you did. Now let's get back to the presentation.
As the torso and the legs go down, then they're like semi-transparent, and the bottom of the legs you can't even see anymore. They're transparent, and they sort of float around. If you piss one off, it becomes fully...
Their feet are in another dimension. So in another dimension, there's just feet walking around? Because the feet specifically are in another dimension, but the rest of them isn't. What if they, like, step on a thumbtack or something in the other dimension? I assume they can't see because their head is in this dimension, but their feet are in another dimension. They're basically just walking around blind in that other dimension. I don't know. I don't think this story holds up. MH Darkbeast says, I want the X Mansion from X-Men 97. You think 160 is ouch? Try 300, but I made a custom CC from Westchester County for it. This is gonna be ridiculous. Oh, that's so cool. Why is everything so expensive?
Physical, and it'll attack people, and it's known to kill them. And my friend from Thailand said his brother was attacked by one and almost killed him. Cut them all up. They have these really long claws.
Why do you know so many people in Thailand?
And I was like, that's crazy. You know, here in America, that's just not normal. And he said, yeah, you Americans, you don't believe in anything. You know, you think that your forests and stuff are all perfectly clean and everything, and you don't experience all this kind of stuff, but there is a reality there, and these things are common in Thailand. Like a year later, I had another job where I was a part-time janitor, and I met this lady that she was another part-time janitor, and we were cleaning the classroom at night, and she was from Thailand, right? I said, where are you from? She said, Thailand. I'm like, okay, I've been dying to meet somebody else from Thailand so I could verify something.
Oh, God. Profane Priestess says, they don't like being called Sasquatches. The proper term is forest person. If his name is strength of a river in his shoulders, then he's friendly. If his name is blood on his soul, run away. If you get the reference, we can be friends. Oh, shit. We can't, the names sound like they're tabaxi names, but I don't know the specific reference.
You're going to think this is probably weird, but I'm into this kind of stuff. I had a friend in high school who told me about these creatures with a horse head. And, you know, if you're kind of quiet and respectful when you go out into the jungle and you happen to see one of those, just be quiet. They'll just keep going. They'll leave you alone. But if you make a lot of noise, you'll piss them off and they could come and kill you. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know what those are. And she gave the name. And I'm like, what?
Dresden Files? I'm not familiar.
She's like, yeah, they're common. People from Thailand, they know about that. They know what that is. And she said, that's just the beginning. There's other things that are even worse than that. And then she told me about this thing that was an elemental. This black blob, an opaque blob that's sort of like an amoeba. It's larger than a person. It's like maybe 10 feet tall, but they sort of change shape and they just sort of ooze around. They live in the jungle. And if you happen to see one of those, you better run. They're not
I think I can outrun an ooze.
necessarily like evil.
I've seen the stuff like 50 times. I've been training for this my whole life.
Having an intent to kill people, but they kill people.
MH Darkbeast says, the foot dimension makes me think of Kat and her stories of heaven where they have warehouses of missing body parts you can pick up when you get to heaven. I have not heard that story from Kat Kerr. I remember hearing her talk about what she thought heaven was like, but I don't remember that specific anecdote.
Drain energy from the atmosphere. So that the Thai people know.
Giant amoeba like the blob in The Prisoner.
So that if
Pretty
you're
sure his name is Romer or Rover. I don't remember specifically. Don't put disrespect on the greatest monster from any production in history. I will stand by this. The sphere in the prisoner is incredible, and if you laugh at it, fuck you.
in the jungle and you start to feel sleepy, like all of it.
I need to frame it for those who don't know what I'm talking about. Hold on. Rover.
Wait! Wait! Be still! Turn back!
Get him, Rover. You think you can leave the village? Get rovered, bitch. Anyway, great creature. They had budgetary concerns, basically. They didn't have a lot of money, so that's what they decided to do with Rover, and they made it very simple, and it's all done using cuts and edits to make it look scary, and I think it works, and if you laugh at it, you're wrong.
All of a sudden it hits you.
Ferris Hex, thanks for gifting a sub.
If you start getting really drowsy, like almost to the point of passing out all of a sudden, one of those things might be near, and you better run. Because if they get close enough to you and you're susceptible, you'll just fall over dead. Suck the life literally right out of the atmosphere. And, you know, these things are in Thailand, she said. And yeah, there's all kinds of creatures that live up in the jungle. And so some of these creatures are native to different dimensions and they're just there. They're part of those areas. But I think a lot of cryptids in general.
How dare you, Baha?
Are Nephilim, and it's particularly the case when they do have this sort of bent toward evil. They want to injure. They're violent, they're chaotic, and they just have this twisted nature where they just...
Cthulhu Flower with 16 months says, late but home from PT and pizza now for some relaxing foil. Enjoy your pizza. I hope it is delicious.
don't mean well. And there's a whole range of them. So La Duenda from El Salvador. They also have this thing called the chicken foot lady. I have a very close person that I know that from El Salvador that has this different things.
The chicken foot lady? Like Baba Yaga?
A hellhound, for
I guess I should say Baba Yaga's house.
example. Dog with oversized black dog with red glowing eyes.
The Hound of the Baskervilles?
Those are...
Again, do you notice that everything conspiracy theory related is derivative of imagery from somewhere else?
In the jungles in El Salvador, a beautiful looking woman, but with chicken's legs and feet. Like the legs turn into a chicken's legs and with the feet of a chicken.
Someone's into it.
But it's like a seductress, like a succubus, and it can seduce men, and it drives them insane. They can't think after that.
It's not even a magic thing, just literally they can't live with themselves after they fuck the chicken leg lady.
Makes people psychotic.
Urban UK with 25 months, thank you.
And then, other areas, leprechauns, fairies, pixies, all these different creatures. But in particular, the ones that are bad, known to be bad, those are cryptids, and they come from this. They date back, the Bible talks about it, they date back to these Nephilim. And these beings used to be worshipped, a lot of them. Baal, for example, the Bible talks about Baal, how the Israelites struggle with this Baal worship on and off.
Baal was a god of another group in the region. Not a cryptid.
This was a Canaanite god, but he's also...
So was El.
Also mentioned in the Greek legends.
The Christian god. Also Jewish and Islam.
So the Canaanite version's called Baal, and he was a man's body with a bull's head. The Greeks referred to this as a minotaur. There probably really was a minotaur. This really massive human body bull-headed creature. And if you've ever had anybody, if you were to just randomly ask somebody, draw a picture of a demon, they would most likely include something with sort of a part human body, some sort of animal attributes on it, bat wings or something like that, and horns are common. And then you got to ask yourself, what is that? That is a human.
Tam with a link.
Are you my dad? Yes, I am. Well, I bet your mother gave you a name. What is it? I said it was...
I love the Kids in the Hall. I can't play this for copyright concerns, but I really do like the Kids in the Hall. They're fun.
Humanoid, possibly some kind of animal type creature, and it has supernatural powers, where the humanoid part is the angelic part, and then the animal part. So this is the origin of demons. That was another early question I had. Like, why would God create demons?
You want an I want to believe poster, yeah. I like stuff like that. I have on my key ring a keychain that's a little alien in the rocket ship, and it says, it either says the truth is out there or I want to believe.
Makes sense.
I always like the phrase the truth is out there because the double meaning. Like, the truth is out there, but also the truth is out there. You know what I mean?
It's an entity that exists, so God had to create it, right? A lot of Christians can't even tell you that. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense that God would create them. So how do they exist? Well, they exist because of fallen angels being rebellious against God, crossing with humans and animals. And then when those entities, those physical entities from that reproduction die, their ghosts are demons. And
so the ghosts of Nephilim and cryptids are demons. Okay.
And the actual word in Hebrew for Raphaim translates as giants or as shades and spirits. The same word, Rapha or Raphaim. So the Bible even tells you linguistically the origin of demons, where they come from. They're the ghosts of the Nephilim.
The Bible doesn't say that. Joan Spoon, thanks for a 3-stream streak.
So I'm learning all of this stuff in the Bible, and
no, I don't think so, Halloween Town.
Learning about the nature of these creatures, and I'm also seeing this tendency.
You can post it, and I'll take a look.
Of this information regarding UFOs and ETs and stuff converging into end times events. There was this tendency of, I saw an increase of this otherworldly activity and ET involvement in the Bible in end times events. And what I mean by that is Jesus said in Luke 17 and Mark 24 that in the end times, when we get near the time when he will return, that you're going to see signs and wonders in the heavens. In the heavens.
Yeah, I can't show that, but it is posted in general. It's like a gray alien in the rose from Titanic. Paint me like one of your French girls poses with the tits out. Also, gray alien's apparently mammalian. Good to know.
Will be shaken. He also said, we will see a return. It will be as the days of Noah. In the days of the coming of the Son of Man, it will be as the days of Noah. So why would he refer to Noah's time? Out of all of history, he didn't say
history.
It will be like the days of the Grecian Empire, or the days of the Moses, with the Egyptians or any of that. No, he goes all the way back to the days of Noah. And what distinguishes Noah's day? These otherworldly beings were like coming down in open contact, interfacing in society. The book of Enoch is actually the unabridged, the expanded version of Genesis chapter 6. And it tells you Enoch, this godly man who actually translated, he never physically died. But these otherworldly beings came and talked to him and interfaced with him on a regular basis, and they were asking him to intercede for them, ask God for forgiveness, because they knew what they did. They crossed the line big time, and they did it repeatedly for a very long time. And they got to the point where God said, okay, you crossed it. There's no going back. You're done. And then they tried to see if they could get Enoch to go and get God to change his mind. Of course, God wouldn't change his mind, but that's basically what the book is about. But it also talks about these beings and how they interface with humanity and how they gave us a lot of knowledge, and before we were ready for it.
We switched from the super soldier guy.
They corrupted our society, and we went on a downward spiral. Dramatic.
Again, common in conspiratorial beliefs is that we are living in a fallen society, that everything has only ever gotten worse, and that it's because of some sort of corrupting influence, and if that corrupting influence was just removed, everything would be perfect, and everything would be great, and no one would hurt each other. It's a delusional view of how the world works.
After they showed up, and it led to the flood of Noah. So they were horrible beings. And then after the flood of Noah, you see in Genesis chapter 11, the Tower of Babel narrative, and the people started accumulating knowledge and becoming powerful again.
Thank you, MH Dark Beast, for the link.
The Epic of Gilgamesh happens to be a Sumerian version of Genesis chapter 11.
Well, that's funny. He's referencing the fact that that story is also about a great flood.
The king Nimrod in the Bible
includes a great flood.
Is Gilgamesh in the Sumerian version. The only difference is the antagonist and protagonist are swapped. In the Bible, Nimrod is said to be a powerful warrior, the king, and powerful warrior, but the name Nimrod itself means rebel.
Yeah, the Sumerian version predates Genesis.
The Epic of Gilgamesh says that Gilgamesh is kind of like this hero guy. His mother was 2/3 God, so he is literally a Nephilim, according to the Sumerians. The Bible doesn't say that, but you can kind of get that and from his character by just reading it from the Sumerians. The Sumerians said he was building this Tower of Babel to escape the flood if God should...
Wait, he thinks that the Gilgamesh is about the Tower of Babel? Oh god, okay.
Bring another flood to wipe them out. So he was still defying God. So his
Gilgamesh and Enkidu at... Fuck, I always forget the name of the city.
You're still apparent. And, of course, the Bible says what really happened, God came down and just totally used a type of technology that scrambled their language.
At thank you.
So people were...
Aruk.
Broken up into all these different groups where only a few people were understanding each other over here and only a few people were understanding each other over there, and they had all these different languages and nobody could communicate anymore, so they all broke up and dispersed and spread out. And their culture was basically wiped out in terms of, what God did to confuse them and then to slow them down because they were advancing too fast.
All right, I'm going to move on. Guy's kind of repeating himself at this point. He is interesting. I think we get the point. How about a quick Gina video? Only about a minute long.
These reptilians are in the sky with their ships. I want you to look at it. I took it as I was going down the highway. We're going to zoom up on them, look at them.
Doesn't understand how cameras work. That looks like an airplane. If even that.
They got jagged teeth. Their teeth are razor sharp. You can see them right in the middle of the photo. Their teeth are like the abominable snowman. All it is a great big head, and his teeth are like zigzag like that.
I like that she assumes in that comparison that there's a universally agreed on look for the abominable snowman, who is himself a cryptid and not a real thing.
Watch it, look at it. They're sticking their head out of their great big ship.
You're talking about the claymation Yeti? Oh, like the Rankin Bass Yeti. Okay.
Gone to heaven and said that. Yeah, have you seen what people have gone to heaven and said there's actually warehouses in heaven with completely healed body parts? Is that true? Does that exist? And how is that accessed from here? Because I've heard of it myself, and this is me talking now. I remember praying to God, like, send the parts in heaven that I need. I can't say that yet that I've seen that happen for me. So this is not my question, but I added that part to it.
I've actually been to the body parts warehouse several times. So yes, it really does exist. And they have every kind of body part that God has ever made. And they're alive.
Where's my clitoris, God?
Take your mind and just do something to your mind right now. So I tell people, take your natural mind and set it on a shelf and just hear with your spirit. I'm talking about heaven. I'm talking about where all creation took place. And the one who made everything is there. I can even take a moment to explain this. The Father, how this creation thing happened was the Father and the Word worked together. That's why it's a 3-in-1. They have the ability to go inside of each other, go places and do things. This is what they did before the earth was even made. And so the Father would go somewhere where there was nothing. He would speak what he wanted. And the Word, which is Christ, the Word would step out and he would make whatever it was God wanted. Now, the Word says when God made it, he looked at it and considered it. If he liked it, it remained. If he didn't like what he had said he wanted, then it disappeared. So you have to understand there was a process. So they made everything together. It wasn't just one doing it, but that's why it says there was nothing that was not made that wasn't made by the Word, because he was with God. God spoke the word that he wanted, what he wanted, and the Word, that's why it was his name, stepped out and made it. And then, of course, later the Word came and died, a member of the Trinity. And then after that, he was known as Yeshua, our Savior, our Lord, our King, Jesus Christ. And that's another question I'll answer for free. People say, what does Jesus want to be called? Any of those, as long as you call him.
Ah.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me for another of my wonderful interviews, this time in the studio, which is fantastic because I have a very special guest. Now, you may have seen my guest today in the Lawful Remedy that we do, the live show. Of course, we've actually had a conversation over, I nearly said Skype then, but over Zoom.
There's Flat Earth Dave. We've, of course, seen him before. He's into all sorts of conspiracy theories. He's a sovereign citizen, a flat earther, and also into urine therapy. But of course, we have a moratorium for a little under the next 6 months on pee videos, because you paid me for it. So today's not about pee. It's about the fourth dimension, where I assume there's very little pee.
In the past. It is allegedly Dave. Hello, allegedly Dave.
Hello, Richard. It's great to actually be in the studio.
Oh, it's lovely to. It is absolutely lovely to have you, and I love having people in the studio.
Today, he's not the pee guy for this video. We can't talk about pee. Can't talk about the pee. 6 months. 6 months. No pee. I made the agreement.
Because you can have a nice bit of conversation beforehand. You can engage, and you can sort of, I don't know, put the world to rights get yourselves in the right sort of mood. It's very warm today.
Certainly is, yeah.
And it doesn't help being in the studio, although there are these evil LED lights that we're all told not to have.
If I go...
What? Are people... Did someone tell him not to buy LED lights?
They're blind, you know.
Yeah.
What?
So, and the thing is, this man does know how to do all of that stuff. But we are, funnily enough, we're not going to be talking about the normal sort of lawful stuff that we often talk about on the Lawful Remedy and those sort of things that perhaps myriad of people know you for. And
he starts talking about it mid-video, I will change videos.
I know you've been working on...
Like, joking aside, that's the agreement we made. I am honestly avoiding that topic.
Lots of different talks, and
I checked and it doesn't appear he brings it up, but it is an hour-long video, so there's something I could have missed when skimming. If he brings it up, we will skip.
You go around the country giving these talks. Maybe just tell us, for those people who perhaps do not know who you are or have only seen you in one light, tell us perhaps just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I kind of woke up at 9/11 because I was actually there, and
I think you know the bingo space that applies to.
And
what, there?
Yeah, I was across the river.
Oh my goodness!
And I was nearly in it actually because
that would wake you up.
Yeah, I turned down a job in Lehman Brothers.
If it comes up, you said the clock would reset on 6 months. None of it's just random. If I intentionally or if I let it keep going, but if it comes up, I'm allowed to just click off it and move on. If I persisted, it would restart the clock.
Floor of tower.
But if it just comes up and I'm like, damn, and move on, that doesn't reset the clock. Because I'm not psychic.
Month before, and I took a job across the water in a place called Hoboken. And literally when it happened, we all ran out onto the pier and were watching it just right in front of us.
Gosh.
So I saw it, and you know, it didn't have that much of an effect on me. I was back at work the next day, and so on.
I think Dave is the only person in the world who could see 9/11 from New Jersey and be like, next day I was fine. It didn't... Whatever. He saw 9/11 from Jersey and was like, whatever. 3,000 people.
But it was
what in the world?
Like 4 years down the line, I was helping my daughter with physics homework, and worked out that it couldn't have happened the way they said it did.
Oh, fuck off, Dave. In what way did your child's physics homework bring you to erroneous conclusions about 9/11?
Right. Gosh.
So I thought...
It's because he's British? Yeah, but, like, if I was in, like, the UK and I witnessed an attack that killed thousands of people, I would be affected, regardless of our nationalities.
I was the only one in the world who knew that there was something wrong with it. And then I found a whole group of people in, you know, quite little corners of the internet going, 9/11 was an inside job. So I joined that group, and I ended up bouncing between lots of different topics. So I started with 9/11, and then that led me to the New World Order, which led me to the legal monetary system, and then the legal system, and then the healthcare system, and then and so on and so on and so on. And yeah, I've been filling in this giant puzzle. And I started off 9/11. It just kept leading me to different areas, and I've been filling those parts in. And at this point, I feel like I can step back and see the big picture.
Yeah, I bet. Gosh, I didn't know you were actually there.
Steps back after years of work, and it's just a big picture of a turd.
Yeah, that is art. Is I mean, and you say it didn't overly affect you. I mean, these big buildings coming down, people leaping out of it, all those people dying.
Well, of course, it affected me in that way, just watching it. But you know, I was in the Bishopsgate bombing in London, so you know, I saw sort of real terrorism happening.
Right.
And again, I was at work the next day, so you have to, you know, as British, you have
Step
to
up a level.
MIA selling tinfoil hats that allegedly block radiation in 5G. Oh, I've seen these hats before. For cheap. Are they just buying the cheap versions, sticking a logo on them for $5 and jumping the price up to $100? Because I've seen these kind of hats before, but without the branding. They're probably buying cheap drop-shipped hats, putting a logo on them that takes 5 seconds to sew on with a machine, and then jacking up the price.
Yes, you shake it off and go back to work, don't you?
Yes, so we've just been blown up, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Sounds like one of those carry-on.
Because, like, those tinfoil bucket hats I've looked at before, because, you know, I've looked at tinfoil hats for the show.
It is.
Where they're all sitting there. And
all the Americans were going, "Ah!" and also, pull yourself together, man, you know?
Absolutely, gosh. So as you say, you've now got this sort of overview look of the world and what's going on and things. And
I like that he's just taken that as fact, that this guy said it after 9/11. He got into conspiracy theories, and now he's like, well, now that you have an accurate view of the world, like, why are you assuming that this 9/11 conspiracy theorist is, like, on the ball in terms of observing the world? Hello, Raiders. Left Flank Vets, thank you so much for the raid. Raiders, welcome. I'm Hannah. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a leftist variety streamer. Cover all sorts of different things. Today is a makeup for Tinfoil Tuesday, despite it being a Wednesday. And we look at conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theories, and talk about why they believe what they believe. We debunk them. We just talk about the weird beliefs people have and how people get radicalized into believing them. So hang out, have some fun, play bingo with us. We play conspiracy bingo if someone wants to use the command to bring it up. And hell yeah, free Palestine. Give a follow if you like what you see. And that's about it. Make sure everyone, if you haven't already, go check out Left Flank Vets. There's a link in chat. Great channel.
how did you get into doing the talks?
The person we're watching right now is named Allegedly Dave, and he is a conspiracy theorist that believes all sorts of different things. He's into 9/11 conspiracy theories, flat earth conspiracy theories, he's an anti-vaxxer, he's a sovereign citizen, and he drinks pee, but we're not covering the pee today.
Well, I'm actually, I was very, very shy. I didn't really want to, you know, I never really wanted to stand out and stuff like that.
Thank you, everyone who's following, by the way. A decent number of new followers. Thank you.
But I had so much to say, even at the beginning of all this, because when I started looking at the financial system, it's because I worked on Wall Street
Right.
as a programmer. And I don't know if you...
So funny that he says I worked on Wall Street as if he was a financial analyst or a trader, and then he's like, I was a programmer. Does that give you insight into the inner workings of the financial system? I get that it's fucked, but I don't know if your position gave you a view to understand it.
You've seen the film The Big Short?
Just got to think now. I probably not, actually.
Okay, well, it basically tells you exactly what happened in 2008 with the crash.
Yeah.
Thing is, I found out exactly the same thing as all these people who managed to make money out of the thing. I found out, you know, exactly how it's going to all fall apart, but I didn't have a hedge fund behind me, so I couldn't really do anything. But I knew that it was all going to fall apart, and
I find it pretty hard to believe as an IT person working on Wall Street, he would have the ability to, like, glean how dangerous and precarious the situation in 2007, 2008 was. Could be wrong. I just find it hard to believe.
So I think one of my first videos was explaining what was going to happen with the monetary system. So I found that people kind of connected more with a video with somebody actually speaking about it.
Yes.
So I think I did my first talk in America, which was very successful. So I thought got to get over this fear of public speaking and start giving talks.
And you've kind of gone on touring around. I mean, you go for it, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't stop.
Oh, I nearly killed myself last year. I think I did 130 talks in 5 months.
Blimey.
Which, yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year I've cut it down a bit.
So I suppose it begs the question: what do you do in your time, in your downtime, in your time off?
Well, right now, because I've got some time off now, I'm trying to get back into writing. I've got 3 books that I've started writing,
right,
and I haven't had time to finish. So I've been trying to get back.
I'm aware
into
that there
them.
were people who knew Spokane Dog Man. I'm just saying I don't think Dave was one of those
And
people.
are they sort of law?
To be clear, this is a man who is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist, an anti-vaxxer, a pee drinker, and a sovereign citizen. His ability to see the world clearly is not the best.
Lawful books?
Well, one of them is about common law.
Yeah.
One of them is
Sovereign citizen version of common law, not the actual common law.
about the Old Testament. What's the truth behind the Old Testament? And the third one is about the fourth dimension.
And that's the main essence of the subject that we're going to talk to today. So let's get into the fourth dimension. So in this journey that I've been going on, which is now about 18, 19 months, something like that, a lot of this talk about, oh, we're ascending. We're coming up from 3D to 5D.
Dimensions other than our own on the bingo card?
And I go, hang on, what happened to 4D then? Where did that vanish? And everyone's a bit sort of cagey about it, as if it's like, oh no, you don't need to worry about that. You just heard.
They skipped to 5D because colloquially the fourth dimension is often referred to as time. So people don't think about a fourth spatial dimension, especially conspiracy theorists whose ideas about the world generally are pretty broad, myopic, and come from media, movies, TV shows, occasionally books, right? So usually they would associate the fourth dimension with time, because whenever you hear the fourth dimension in media, it's usually in like a time travel movie or something referencing time. So I think that's the reason they skipped 4D and went to 5D, because they felt 4D was already taken by time, and they didn't want to have to explain, no, we don't mean time, so they went 5D.
A little up to the next one, and you think, well, there must be something in there. So maybe you could explain what's happening in that area, or if that is related to the same thing.
Well, I have a problem with people who start talking about the fifth dimension,
right?
Because just working it out myself, I've got a kind of tenuous grasp on the fourth dimension, right? And I can't even imagine what the fifth could possibly be.
Right.
So whenever I encounter somebody who says...
I feel like the pseudoscience here, once he gets into his beliefs on a fourth dimension, are going to make Terrence Howard blush.
Oh, yeah, about the fifth dimension. I say, well, what is the fifth dimension? How would you conceptualize it for me? So make me understand what it is. And they can't. Right? So how can they talk about fifth dimension if they don't know what it is?
Right, because we're all supposed to be ascending to this.
And that's another question. How do you ascend to this new dimension?
Exactly, because I mean, the way I first heard about it's like, you're going to have lighter bodies, or you'll be more telepathic, or you'll be this. And I go, well, actually, I quite like having sometimes a heavy body digging and doing something manual. I get a lot of pleasure out of exhausting myself and then sitting back and feeling that sense of achievement. And if we're now all floaty, fluffing about, it's like, well, you're actually taking away some of the enjoyment of life from me.
Exactly.
So
I in my talk, I basically show how to extrapolate what the fourth dimension is by looking. Well, okay, if you realise that this world is self-similar at all levels, as above, so below, you can extrapolate what the fourth dimension is by looking at the previous dimensions.
Oh, okay. So just take me through that then.
Okay.
Previous dimensions.
So imagine I've got a cube. I'm holding a cube.
Wait, is he going to talk about a hypercube as if it's a concept he came up with?
If I cut that cube in half and look at its cross-section...
Yes.
Now I'm looking at...
Okay, now he's just going to talk about... I feel like if I keep watching this, I'm going to get into a whole diatribe about Flatland, which I enjoy Flatland. I don't feel like talking about that today. So I'm going to move on to the next thing. Chat, beware of the bananas, apparently. This conspiracy theorist is very concerned about bananas.
She opened a banana that she thinks that these are not real bananas. We got it from the supermarket, but when she opens it and she breaks it in half, it gets very tough and doesn't really break. And if
Guys, you just got a bad banana. It's not a conspiracy theory. It was literally in the peel. Do you think that they opened the banana, changed it, and then sealed it back up in the peel?
when it pulls, it's like it's glue. It's very tight and doughy.
the food in America is so nasty and it's illegal in most other countries. And if this isn't an issue for you, it should be, especially during this election season, because they're not only poisoning the food, they're poisoning the air, the water, the vaccines, everything they can. They're injecting children with it.
Oh my god, these anti-vaxxer assholes frustrate me to no end!
Among other things. As they spray us like bugs, tell us we're gonna...
Doesn't understand their problem is capitalism on the bingo card, by the way, for lack of regulation and unsafe food products.
Eat bugs, groom our children, and basically...
And don't worry, I'm sure that's gonna get a whole lot better now that the Chevron decision has been... Chevron doctrine's been overturned. Won't have that pesky Food and Drug Administration interfering with free enterprise of putting glass shards in our Hot Pockets. Ugh. See what the super soldier guys are up to. I hit the wrong button. Genius. Control C. Control V.
Join the Super Soldier Talk podcast this Saturday, July 13, 2024, between 12
No, we don't have transphobia yet. We will, though.
p.m. to 6 p.m. for
But don't mark it yet. It hasn't happened yet.
the first time ever and free Timeline of Disclosure Conference and Soul Healing Fair at Indian Rocks Beach Museum Park in St. Petersburg, Florida. We will start off the day's celebration with a memorial dedicated to deceased
Team One Up,
ufology
thanks for
experts
following.
and secret space program comrades. Do you want to learn what is really going on out there with UFOs and aliens? Then join us as our amazing speakers share more about their service in the secret space program. We will also have psychic readers. Afterwards, join our free crystal sound bowl healing ceremony.
Ooh, a free crystal healing bowl ceremony.
We'll also have
That sounds worth my time.
free dance classes, and at the end of the day, a costume contest. Upgrading to a VIP Timeline of Disclosure Conference Pass will allow you to listen and meet more Secret Space Program whistleblowers. The VIP conference begins a day before.
Look at all these super soldiers. Intimidating. I wouldn't want to see them on Mars.
The Soul Healing Fair on Thursday, July 11th and Friday, July 12th at the Harborside Holiday Inn in Indian Rocks Beach, Florida.
Imagine you're at the Holiday Inn and you see that they're hosting a conference and it's for secret super soldiers from space. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the kind of person that would sneak into a conference, but I'm gonna find my way into that one. I don't care whose lanyard I have to steal.
VIP ticket holders can also join us for the after party on Sunday, July 14th. Come show your support for individuals who have been abused in these top secret clearance programs as we co-create a timeline of disclosure for humanity.
Well, hello there. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through that. That's our conference coming up here in July.
Have I seen the recent Night's Watch regarding watching a documentary on gay animals? Nope, I have not. Altered Undying says, "Hey Hannah, hope you're well. I finished the away mission medical uniforms and the main medical uniforms. Let me know if you want to see them all." Sure.
So maybe I need to drop the music just a little bit lower, but those beats are just, they go in pretty hard. So
So this is James Rink. He's the head of the Super Soldier Talk channel. This is the channel that does all the Super Soldier stuff. He's more or less the organizer of all these events. Seems innocuous at first, but he is a lost cause revisionist for the American Civil War, which sucks. He's also a Nazi apologist. He basically says, like, oh no, secretly the Nazis were working with aliens to do good things, you just didn't know about it. So he's a Nazi apologist. I don't remember if he's a Holocaust denialist, but I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't. He's basically a big piece of shit. He's a really, really bad guy. So, you know, he seems mild-mannered, but keep that in mind.
yeah, come on out to Timeline of Disclosure and the Soul Healing Fair. And
is he the flying saucer Nazi tech is amazing guy? Yes, he believes in the conspiracy theory that Nazis worked with aliens to build spaceships in a time machine called Der Glock, which is an idea stolen from a fiction novel, which is not uncommon for conspiracy theories to outright steal something from a piece of fiction and just claim that it's real.
St. Peter.
Can we raid VC archives when we end? Sure.
Petersburg, Florida. The tickets are on sale till July 11th, but you can get a VIP, the package that includes food until the 4th of July. So I'd love to meet you this summer. And yeah, also, if you want to learn more about some of the work that we do here at Super Soldier Talk, you can go to supersoldiertalk.com. There's a subscribe form. So I actually recommend you subscribe there rather than here on YouTube because of all the censorship. Because, you know, it hasn't been easy. I've talked about this in the past.
Why do they keep censoring my Nazi apology? I can't imagine why.
I think I have 12 strikes or 13. I can't even keep track anymore. But get a copy of my book at Theological Tech, and also get yourself a meditation cube. So these meditation cubes, if everybody wants to see it, UFOs are real. These meditation cubes are...
Wait, how does the cube help you meditate? Senikagami says, speaking of Chevron, isn't it wonderful how the party of financial responsibility just necessitated a massive increase in the budget of federal regulations by declaring open season on all regulation to be relitigated? Also, looking forward to courts working even more slowly than ever. Oh, it's a shit show. I'm trying not to be doomer. I'm having a real hard time. I'm having a real hard time. I am having a crisis, genuinely.
Are based on sacred geometry.
They're based on sacred geometry, a very real thing that definitely affects you.
Pyramids on the inside. There's 6 of them. They all point inward inside this box.
Oh shit, guys, there's pyramids in this box. We should buy it, because they got pyramids in them. Slaps box. You can fit so many pyramids in this baby!
And then there's a sphere here with the skull.
Oh fuck, pyramids and a sphere? Shit. Sphere's free, basically. Can I afford not to take this deal?
One has 13 crystal skulls and other crystals inside there, so...
I'm sorry, did you just say that inside the box there's a sphere, and inside the sphere there are 16 crystal skulls? Those are tiny skulls.
It's based on shape power. Anything that's cone or pyramid shape produces chi energy. So, yeah. And it also helps support Super Soldier Talk. So you can, if you don't want a cube, though, I hope you get one.
My strategy for the next 20 years is just going to try and live. We'll see what happens.
But you can also donate to Healing Soul Survivors. So, all right.
I used to have dreams and hopes. And now I just want to survive.
Enough of that. Let's get to business. Jimmy, are you there? Oh,
I'm here.
How are you doing today?
Real good, James.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on here. I know it's getting a little late here, Eastern Seaboard, but the message that Jimmy has to share is worth it. So we're going to begin with his bio here. So today, Jimmy will be speaking about Father Pellegrino Aranetti, chronovisor. So he was a Vatican priest.
I like the medical uniform. It's different than ones I've seen in the shows, but I like the big insignia on the back because it seems to me in certain situations it would behoove you to be able to find a medical personnel very quickly and differentiate them from the typical science personnel in Trek. So I like the medical symbol on the back. That's a nice touch.
That found...
I had dreams and hopes. I know. What a fool.
That they could measure sounds in the past. I think it was like chants in a monastery, and they were able to use this device to look into time. So Jimmy actually knew Father Aranetti, and he'll be talking about that today. So Super Soldier Agent Jimmy Payne, aka Dallas, was in the secret space program.
His secret space program nickname was Dallas. Again, I'm telling you, conspiracy theorists just steal everything from movies and TV shows.
Program from 1959 to 1996. During this time, he was a shuttlecraft pilot.
See, I like that there's an away team uniform and a ship uniform, because it makes sense. Like I said, in an away situation, having the medic be more easily identifiable makes sense. On the ship, A little more casual wear. Like that.
For the Tall White Warriors at Area 51 and participated in time travel missions with the Montauk Boys at Camp.
Who's the guy on the left again? James Rink is in charge of the Super Soldier Talk channel. He's been doing this for years. It's a community of people who are delusional and believe that they were involved in a secret space program working with aliens and time travelers. They may have been cloned many times or reincarnated. It's basically a mishmash of a lot of different conspiratorial beliefs attempting to create a internal canon for all of the members. Toreador says, yes, he obviously stole the name from the long-running soap opera Dallas.
Camp Hero.
The aliens shot JR.
Also recalls working for Wayland Corporation, where he encountered
Wayland Corporation, which you'll recognize from the Alien franchise. They believe it is a real corporation. Again, they believe that a lot of fictional things are secretly real and that the media that is involving them is used to cover for their actual existence. So they think that Star Trek is real. They think that xenomorphs are real. Predators are real. I'm sure there's more, but that's just off the top of my head.
encountered a xenomorph.
Are they owned by Umbrella? You're joking, but they may have mentioned that they believe the Umbrella Corporation is real at some point. That sounds familiar.
LV-426.
Wayland Yutani. I don't know if in their version it's been merged with Yutani or if it's just the Wayland Corporation. I think they've only referred to it as Wayland.
Which the movie Aliens was based off of. He was stationed on Mars, Titan, and the Moon. On Mars, he has seen a broken statue of a giant face of a humanoid on a mission in 1974, along with Duncan O'Finian. He remembers seeing Tommyknockers in a cave on Mars, which are
Tommyknockers?
A muscular type of grace. On the Moon, a Titan.
Tommyknockers, knocking at your door. Tommyknockers.
Titan, he was stationed in a massive underground facility. He was tasked with fighting the monster they called It. It looked like a Junior Montauk monster.
Okay, well, those are both. So, again, I'm sorry that I'm just referencing the things that he's referencing, but to point out the derivative nature of these claims again, Tommyknockers, well, I believe they do exist in name alone as an old wives' tale. You probably know Tommyknockers from the Stephen King story turned mini-series, The Tommyknockers, and then, of course, It from, It, Pennywise the Clown. He thinks these are real. I assume he also believes in the Dark Tower.
A type of Bigfoot or Sasquatch that would gain strength by attacking him. He was also on a secret mission from Vandenberg Air Force Base on the lunar Apollo 20 mission with William Rutledge, where they discovered a Oriental-looking humanoid named EBE, or EB, Mona Lisa.
That's not the preferred nomenclature, James.
He claims that the Apollo 20 footage on YouTube is real, so we have done a show about that, but I think...
Wow, he claims footage on YouTube is real. That's legitimate.
We might be doing another one coming soon, right, Jimmy? About Apollo 20?
Yes.
Because you want to talk about that? You've located some files.
I've located a good many files, over 1,000 pages.
So, okay, well, we'll say that for another. I know I'm itching to talk about William Rutledge, but let's focus here on the chronovisor. So,
did he just say coronavisor?
Let's begin with what do you know about the first of all, tell us what it is and how does it work, Jimmy?
Well, the chronovisor.
Chronovisor, not corona. Chrono, as in chronological time. Chrono
is basically.
Toreador says, Grandpa, does your family know you're using the internet?
An amplifier. And it goes and it picks up vibrations.
Yeah, vibrations. Conspiracy theorists are obsessed with the concept of vibrations. Vibrations of what? What's vibrating?
From the past.
Vibrations from the past. In what medium? Pterodona says his guest is being taken advantage of, in my opinion. I mean, that's the whole show, is he brings people on that are clearly delusional and then interviews them. The whole community is basically people who are mentally ill, egging each other on, and all trying to create an overarching canon for their collective delusions. Horrifying.
It's a resonator. Kind of looks like a TV. And it can it's like cutting on the TV and seeing a program in black and white, that is.
Why is it in black and white?
There's no sound. Later the sound was...
Ironically, sound does actually make vibrations in the air. That's what sound is. So it's kind of funny that you think it has video but not sound, but you're talking about vibrations?
Was gotten up, but when I was there, the sound wasn't quite... All the bugs weren't worked out of the sound system.
Okay, let me share this image here. So Jimmy, is this what the chronovisor looks like there on the left there?
What?
No.
The first rule of improv. No.
That's not what it looked like. It was more crude, similar to a TV back in the 40s.
And this TV, okay, so they could tune into the past. How far in the past could they go theoretically?
Well, I know we went back at least to 63 BC. There was
that's a very specific year.
Speech given to the Roman Senate.
And wasn't there like a play that was lost in history, and they were able to actually get the words for it?
Yes, there was a play that they got. They also picked up
Love's Labor's One.
Several other recordings from the past. James.
Okay, I'm moving on to the next thing because he's just rambling. Even by super soldier standards, pretty rambly. Ooh, something about Tolkien. That should be interesting. I need to use the bathroom real quick. So while I do that, Chair will tell you all about, sure, we'll go with Estevez. Chair will tell you about Repo Man. Go back.
The works of J.R.R. Tolkien reflect the high fantasy concept and world building that, to this day, continues to inspire new authors as they seek to embark on fantasy. We did explore the sword and sorcery element of it when we looked at Conan, and now we look at Tolkien's work. J.R.R. Tolkien seemed to understand the very concept of cycles, and indeed, it was written into his work. Today we explore his abandoned work, The New Shadow.
Tolkien people are going to have to help me out on this one, because as much of a media person as I am, a big blind spot for me is fantasy. I don't really like fantasy unless it's science fantasy. I've only seen the first Lord of the Rings movie. I don't know anything about Tolkien. So if things come up that are inaccurate or notable, let me know.
I'm no sorcerer, but I'll gladly test your steel.
I apologize, I'm a sci-fi gal. This is my sci-fi collection, and over here that you can't see.
Old friend.
The New Shadow could be considered Tolkien's final warning to the world and to the land. He seemed to have an understanding of the nature of humanity, and The New Shadow was a book that he had started working on but eventually abandoned. But in order to understand the dynamics of...
I like that Heretic and Based were right adjacent to each other.
The New Shadow, how it affected Tolkien, and what he may have been warning to the public, we have to examine the rest of his works, and we have to go back and review what Tolkien's world really was all about. Tolkien seemed to have the vision of a great land that existed in the distant past, and a lot of people do allude to it as being high fantasy, and indeed, he's considered the very father of high fantasy. And what exactly is high fantasy? High fantasy reflects to the fantasy works in which you have
Mr. Duck Sauce with a link. No, I've never seen the Battle of Helm's Deep. That's blocked in my country, so I can't watch that clip.
A world, or a fantasy world, in which the very stake or the survival of that world is the main plot point of the novel, as compared to, say...
I may have gotten them, Generty. I have so many books piled up over here, it's possible it's in the pile. I'm sorry.
Sword and sorcery, where you have a wonderful fantasy world that's been developed, but the very fate of the world is not necessarily at stake by the events of the novel or the works. And these are some of the elements that make Tolkien's work so memorable and so...
Carbcosian says Nazis asked Tolkien if he was Jewish, and he responded, "I would be proud if I was part of that great race," or something similar. Yeah, I do know that story. He basically said, "I'm ashamed to say I am not," something to that effect. Basically shit all over him.
Appreciated.
Yeah, that's not what high fantasy means. Yeah, high fantasy is defined by lots of magic and, like, non-realistic things, like dragons and, like, giant elven cities full of magic and, like, all sorts of otherworldly things that don't exist in the real world. Like, Game of Thrones would be closer to, like, low fantasy, although they do have dragons and stuff. Minus the dragons, something that's closer to real life.
It feels as though he had the ability to weave fine legend and myth into something that felt a lot more real. And you can find this in all the works, whether you're looking at The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, or any of the other works that Tolkien had composed over time. You can see that many of the lands that he looked at were inspired by the lands that still exist to this day. He even stated that Arda, or his world, was meant to be our own green and solid earth. And it was these very lands that inspired the works that he had, and that's where these great tales took place.
I'm sure there are better examples of high and low fantasy. Sorry for the examples I gave. Again, like I said, I'm not big on the genre, so I don't know a bunch of examples.
Perhaps the most interesting thing in our consideration of Tolkien is just how rich and developed and how much depth there was in all the elements of his land, in the very land of Arda. He had an entire origin story that goes all the way back to the beginning. An entire origin of spiritual beings that managed to create a world through the simple fabrication of what they referred to as music. And then eventually the development of this entire world and how it evolved and changed over time. Or perhaps you could just say how it changed over time. The original origin of the different species that inhabited this incredible world, and how the lands were altered due to the events that occurred.
Thanks for following.
And there was something about these works that really inspired our imaginations, and you could see with the very concept of Middle Earth, and it should be noted that Middle Earth was something that developed over time, and it referred to different lands and different divisions of lands. And that's something that relates back to all the research that we do with our alternative research when we look at how the very nature of the land that we exist on may...
I don't know why my brain works a certain way, because this is like boring the shit out of me already, talking about the geographical construction of Middle-earth, but I could listen to someone do a dry, hour-long presentation on the fictional physics of warp engines, and I'd be enthralled. Why does my brain not like this, but likes the other thing? They're functionally the same. They're people writing fiction about things. Why do I like one and not the other?
may have changed over time. Now, many people believe that the land has never changed, and there was never a time where it reflected what we see in Tolkien's depiction of Middle-earth or his description of Arda. But what if there is actually a connection? What if somehow in some
Ren fairs are okay, but that's mostly because you're around other people and everyone's dressed up and it's like a fun role-playing thing, potentially.
way Tolkien
And also delicious giant turkey legs.
really understood exactly what had transpired in our distant past? Indeed, one of the suppositions that this channel has made in the distant past when it looked at the works
What if you gave a hobbit a warp-capable ship? They'd try and find a planet with the most breakfasts.
of Tolkien before is that perhaps Tolkien was actually
We'll
recounting
settle down on Denise 4.
events that had occurred historically. Now, while that may seem absurd to some, we have to look at our own given history, and we have a lot of confidence that everything that we're told happened exactly.
Fantasy is higher, the less it resembles the real world. Warehouse 13 is low fantasy. That not be magical realism? Well, no, there's more than one element that's fantastical, so you're right. Okay.
As we are told. And we do acknowledge that it is possible that everything happened
Denis
as we are
4.
told. But how could it be so accurate if we take everything at face value? Indeed, there is no one alive right now today anywhere in the land who had first-hand witness to the events that occurred in 1899. That really wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things. And yet when we look at the origins and the myths that are interwoven within our current society, we have to consider what Tolkien was bringing about and describing in detail. What if there are other works or there are other origin stories that we could actually look at that gives us an entirely different account of the development of our land?
Phoenix
Indeed,
leftist.
that's the most interesting
were
element
you
of
just
looking
saying
at
it Cosmic
Tolkien's
Cats?
work is
Whoever's
how
going,
the land
bye. Have a
changed
good
over
night.
time. Originally, he referred to a flat world, he referred to the land being lit by 2 trees, and then finally a sun and the moon being established. And indeed, an actual account of a land before the existence of a sun and a moon. And yet we can also find, allegedly, myths and legends that state that there was a time in our own land before the moon. And could there have even been a time before the sun, which we don't write about or talk about?
What? Yeah, there was a time before the moon, but the sun predates the Earth. Certainly predates life on Earth. But yeah, the Earth existed before the moon, and then a thing crashed into it and made the moon.
Now, you have to be patient when you're looking at these examinations.
Pray with a link. Spaceship?
I could build a spaceship.
Toreador says, sadly, the Denise system is known for spontaneous outbreaks of armed conflict during the dark intervals of the trinary solar system. The inhabitants are said to have almost supernatural abilities and are legendary warriors.
Examinations of Tolkien, because oftentimes we feel that we know exactly what the truth is. That we know that the given historical account must be true. There is no questioning it, and it is unimpeachable. There is no way that you could possibly consider that anything else
Oh shit, Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 20 tier 1 subs!
happened
Incredibly generous sub drop, thank you so much.
beyond what you're told. And to do so will result in you being castigated, or someone else saying that they know exactly what's best for you. At the end of the day, we all have to decide exactly what it is that
Okay, I gotta abandon this video. I'm sorry, I thought I could sit through Middle-earth stuff. I can't do it. I can't even pretend to be interested in a fantasy story. I'm sorry. I know I'm in the wrong here too, by the way. I'm like the asshole that's like, I don't really care for the Beatles, and it's like, who doesn't like what an asshole thing to say. Like, even if you don't personally like the Beatles, I feel like you're an asshole for being like, I don't like the Beatles. Same thing with, like, the Lord of the Rings. I'm the asshole all of a sudden that has to be like, I don't like Lord of the Rings. I know I'm in the wrong. I'm wrong. It's one of the things I'm wrong about. I accept that. Stone Corbell says, the fun thing about Middle Earth, re flat Earth, is that Arda really was flat when it was created, but the humans invaded the equivalent of heaven, which was a physical place on the flat plane. God, Luvatar, then remade things so that it was round and heaven could no longer just be traveled to. That's pretty funny. Hydrate. Isn't pretending to be interested in a fantasy story what you were doing every Tinfoil Tuesday? I don't want to think about it like that. It's not so much, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not so much not liking the Beatles, but having to be the person that says you don't like the Beatles when people are talking about the Beatles. Same thing here. I feel like I'm the asshole, and I'm pissing in someone's cereal, you know? I get that it's one of the most beloved, like, franchises in history, you know? I feel like a dick for not liking it or not caring for it very much. Whatever. Check this one out.
Here we go.
All right. Also, The Two Towers has the most Peter Jackson shot in the entire collection of Middle-earth films he's done. If it doesn't include a Catholic priest saying he kicks ass for the Lord, not super into Peter Jackson films. Meet the Feebles is pretty good too. Alton Undying says, so this person has things backwards from what I understand. Tolkien wanted to make a legend-style story that was English because of a lot of Greek-Roman myth was very popular in fantasy. The Middle Earth is based on mythology.
All right, welcome.
Got a Godfather take while on hot takes. Here it comes, chat. Here it comes. Here's my Godfather hot take as the cinephile I am. I've still not seen The Godfather. I own all. Still seen the. Sit down. So many I could watch them. Watch. But it feels like it's an obligation, right? Like, I feel like as someone who likes movies, I'm supposed to have seen The Godfather and formed an opinion on it. But every time I'm like, it just seems so boring. I don't care about the mob. I feel like I know half the lines from cultural osmosis. But eventually I'll watch it.
You're here with Eyes to See. I released a video that suggests when
Why am I licking your ear? What, you don't like it?
humans reach the end of an era.
Noise gate's catching a lot of that. Okay, what I was saying is I haven't seen Godfather, and I feel bad that I haven't. But I plan on watching it eventually. I just keep getting, anytime I'm like, I should watch it, I feel like I have other things to watch.
And it's time for a
Like, why would I watch the cinema classic Godfather when I could watch... Dolly Dearest. A doll with a bad attitude. I actually remember this one. This one's a pretty fun killer doll movie. About a family that moves to Mexico. And like a Mayan god has infested a doll. Look at the doll on the back. It's trying to rip off Child's Play. And it's not like... It's one of the more successful Child's Play ripoffs. I'll put it that way. It's not good, but like, I've seen worse killer doll movies. So anyway.
reset that their bodies are turned into soil. And I'm sure the first thing that comes to your mind is that can't be possible. How could that be possible? We know the human body goes through decomposition.
Have I seen Citizen Kane and is it hypothetically worth watching? Yes and yes. Citizen Kane is actually good and I think it holds up very well for how old the film is. You're not going to be as amazed as someone was when it first came out, but I do think it holds up more than the reputation of it as just a film school movie you watch to learn about the history of filmmaking. Like, I do think it is a pretty, maybe not modern, for like a Zoomer, but at least if you're like a millennial or a Gen X person, it's perfectly watchable as a film. If your brain's been rotted by TikTok, it might be hard to sit through. Oh no, I'm a boomer! I'm complaining about the youth! Oh god! Oh, my age!
After it dies. The biological processes we are aware of don't support the idea that entire bodies can be turned into soil. In this video, I'd like to highlight the fact that we live inside of a construct, and we know very little about that construct. We thought we had laws, and were governed by these laws. We thought physics was absolute, that there was no bend, no give to the limits of physics. To believe that humans can turn into soil, one must agree that we live inside of a construct. If we live in a construct, anything is possible. I will be releasing another video soon.
So I like jalapeno brats. I like brats. I don't like anything spicy. I'm a big bitch, and anything spicy will upset my tummy. I take meds for it, so like no jalapenos or anything. Mr. Blast is, for those that don't know, because there's people from the right, is my father-in-law, and we're doing a July 4th thing tomorrow, so I assume I'm being asked, because I assume he has jalapeno brats. None for me. Thank you.
On the mud flood, with an overwhelming amount of evidence, to allow you to convince
I do like brats, though. Normal brats, cheesy brats, pretty much anything that isn't spicy.
yourself that the mud flood events were caused by humans turned into soil, by entire civilizations
Like,
turned.
human flesh decomposes, but it doesn't literally, like, do... This is frustrating. Benekagami says, sorry for this, but it's in my head. The thing about the Trump decision that gets me is SCOTUS completely destroyed any reason for people to listen to them. They basically stated they're the weakest branch, as they are the only ones who can't hold the president to account, and they functionally named the president as the true interpreter of the Constitution, since the president's official acts are assumed constitutional by default, therefore his actions are the assumed interpretation. I got the impression more so that it'll be up to the courts to determine if something is under the purview of an official act, which is still a problem because, again, it puts a lot of power in the judiciary, similar to what they're doing with the Chevron decision, by being like, oh, no, you can't defer to experts. You need to bring us the experts, and then we decide. It's a yikes. It's all a big yikes.
Turned in an instant to soil. But first, to drive home the idea that we live inside of a construct where such things could be possible, I'd like to discuss Nikola Tesla's 369 statement and what I discovered about it, where he says if you understand the numbers 369, you understand the universe. Thanks to Archaics, we know about the Phoenix event, an event that happens every 138 years, makes changes to our world, sometimes big, sometimes small, but always every 138 years. I was researching the Phoenix and the dates that it has visited our world. During that research, I stumbled across a pattern, a 369 pattern. I thought there is no way no one has noticed this yet. I posted my findings to an Archaics Facebook group, and wouldn't you know, this has not been brought up yet. Now, there's no prize for this. I didn't win anything, but still, thought that was kind of cool. As I mentioned, I was looking at the dates the Phoenix has visited us, and I started with 1902. That's the last year it has been here. 138 years, I went ahead and subtracted that from 1902, and I got 1764. And then I subtracted 138 from that, and got 1626. And then again, 1488, and so on and so forth. I wrote down 16 dates in all, going back to the year 108. I'm a fan of gematria, and a fan of numbers.
Gematria on the bingo card.
I'm always deducing numbers down to their lowest possible number, in part because numbers really are divine, and the
numerology on the bingo card.
Only true numbers that God deals with are 1 through 9. So I began deducing these dates down, and 1902 is 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 plus 2 is 12, 2 plus 1 is 3. So 1902 is a 3. 1764 is 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 7, 17.
Oh, good. You made a chart.
Plus 1 is 18. 8 plus 1 is 9. 1764 is 9. 1626. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 plus 6 is 15. 5 plus 1 is 6. 1626 is 6. Then I did.
Finikagami says, but the problem is you can't use official documents of the Oval Office as evidence to even bring charges, so it would be insanely difficult to take the president to court to determine official acts. Therefore, by default, the president official acts are constitutional. Again, I'm aware of how big of a shit show this is. I know. I'm also very distressed.
1488, that's a 3. 1350 is a 9. 1212 is 3, 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 1212 is a 6. And this pattern emerged. And look at that. It's 639, 639, 639, 639. Repeating. It's remarkable. Over the years, I've watched quite a few videos on Tesla and this 369. Many videos correlate these numbers to vortex math and manifestation techniques.
What's vortex math?
And they're convincing. I can't say that they are wrong at all. And I'm not claiming that Tesla was referring to the Phoenix either. I do know, however, if one were to have advanced knowledge of catastrophic events that were going to affect the Earth, that person would be said to know some secrets of the universe. Absolutely. Now, whether or not this is what Tesla was referring to, that's impossible to know. There are even some who say there is no evidence that Tesla even made that statement. So, what do we know? What I can be confident in is this is another way to demonstrate that we do not live in a natural world. Instead, what do we live in, ladies and gentlemen? A construct.
I don't understand how you would ever have a point of comparison, even if that were true, whatever that would mean. I don't mean to go all philosophy 101 on you, but in terms of, like, the allegory of the cave, how would you know any different? What would your point of reference be to determine that something was non-natural if the only thing you had ever seen was this? How would you have a point of reference to say this isn't natural? You know what I mean?
And it's a construct we know very little about because we've been grossly misled about this place that we call home. The lies are the norm. The oddity is the truth. And I hate to say it, but we have very little experience with the truth. We really can only trust what we have personally observed. I mean, if you haven't personally observed it, you can't know. We're taught we live in a world governed by laws. That may be true, but we don't know the laws. Instead, we live in a world that invents things like dark matter to hide the existence of the ether, just like Tesla and his accomplishment.
There isn't an ether. He's talking about the fact that there used to be a hypothesis that there was a medium through which everything was able to travel that just kind of was the background existent thing that was the universe. This was the aether. And then the Michelson-Morley experiment that disproved the luminiferous ether wasn't real. I don't remember the exact one, but yeah, it was a debunked hypothesis. It was falsified. Conspiracy theorists are very into it because they're very into debunked old scientific theories because it's a way for them to look at modern science and try and delegitimize it by gesturing rhetorically at old debunked theories and trying to claim the debunked theories are the secret truth and modern science is a lie, obfuscating truth. Basically, they don't trust institutions and they're rhetorically using science as a stand-in for institutional knowledge.
His discoveries have been suppressed, along with the very medium he was working with, the ether. The numbers 369 appear to be coded in many different aspects of our world. Tying it to the Phoenix brings new clarity.
I mean, it's like a third of the single digits that exist. Out of the, like, if we're not including 0, 1 through 9, that's a third of the numbers. 3, 6, and 9, because it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You literally listed a third of the numbers in that set. 33%. So yeah, those numbers are going to come up. It's a third of the numbers that exist in single digits, again, excluding 0.
For me. Archaics has studied the Phoenix for decades, and he isn't 100% sure if it's a benefactor protocol or malicious. When one recognizes the magic behind vortex mathematics, triangles, manifestation, setting one's intent, action, I find the line between good and evil.
I find this channel so interesting because unlike a lot of other conspiratorial channels, he has an aesthetic for his channel, like an intentional style. He has a series of logos and graphics and transitions. I don't know if he developed an editing ability prior to losing his mind, but it reminds me a little bit of the Temple OS guy, in that he had a little bit of a programming ability that was interesting to see translate into his mental illness, and this feels similar to me, in that it's someone who knows the basics of an editing program and is using them at the service of his delusions.
To be increasingly blurred every day. Perhaps at the end of the day, the good and the bad ultimately is on the same side. The bad in my life has given me direction. I've repelled off of it, and it's helped shape the path of my life, given me direction. I've been wondering, without the bad, do we have a purpose? Do we have a direction? Do we have contrast?
Like, I'm literally just looking at all the elements on the screen and the different choices he made. He made the 3s blink, he made the 6 and the 9 spin around. At least those ones, because, you know, 6 and 9 are the same if you transpose them, if you flip them.
It's so amazing.
Some
the
of them
idea
are moving. Like, these are all just choices he made.
That it's been taken over.
Sorry, I know I obsess over the stupidest little things.
By some malevolent forces seems unlikely. I'm
just
enjoying
imagining the thought process when he put this together and
journey,
how.
though, and I hope you are too. But that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe. Please share my videos if you like my content. I really appreciate you being here with me. Truth is entering our world, you guys. All will be revealed. How does it do that? I believe through regular people like you and me. People who have a
Harry, the Temple OS guy, is a really sad and interesting story.
Connection to source.
Down the Rabbit Hole did a good documentary about him.
We are conduits, and we're confronting these lies one at a time. Let's keep looking for answers, because they're there, if you have the eyes to see. Next video, we're going back over to the construction site, and we're going to be talking about the mud flood, where I think we get to apply a brand new meaning to the circle of life. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and you won't want to miss what's coming, guys.
That was certainly something. Find out what is next. I'm sorry, this new transvestigator lady is just absolutely wormed her way into my brain with the things she decides to transvestigate. This week it's the Babysitters Club. Does anyone remember the Babysitters Club books and various media adaptations?
These are my original Babysitters Club books from the 80s and very early 90s. And yeah, let's get into it.
Zach, let me turn her up. She's a little quiet.
You are looking at a childhood treasure of mine, and I will make sure this intro isn't too long, but I feel like I need to explain some of the characters to you because I'll be mentioning their names. So this is book number 1. This came out when I was like 7. This was published in 1986. I bought this, or actually my mom bought this for me when I was in 2nd grade at the Scholastic Book Fair. And I'll never forget that because like it was the first chapter book, you know, like I ever bought and read.
I forgot calling books chapter books when you're a little kid and you're going from like kids' picture books to like Goosebumps, Babysitters Club, stuff like this. Chapter books. I forgot that is a nomenclature that kids use.
and I just fell in love with this series. So it's very special to me, but we have to get into some things today about the Babysitters Club. Even if you don't have any interest in this series, you'll get something out of this video. We're going to take a close look at the author, if you catch my drift, and I want to read some pretty disturbing texts that were in a couple of the books. So, book number 1 is Christie's Great Idea, and Christy Thomas, who I need to talk to you guys about her because the internet wants Christy to be a lesbian so bad. I'm not even kidding you. If you Google Christy Thomas lesbian, a bunch of stuff will come up.
Why did you Google that if you're offended by it?
So Christy Thomas, who is this one, okay, she started the Babysitters Club. It was her idea, and she got her best friend Marianne Spear there. They're next door neighbors and best friends. They got.
I guess I should give if anyone doesn't know the Babysitters Club is a series of books for girls. I guess anyone could read them, but the demographic intent was for them to be for teen girls, and it's about a group of friends who start a club, and they're all babysitters, and they kind of fit into different archetypes of different, kinds of girls. One's, more tomboyish, one's maybe more preppy or sporty or whatever, and they'd have different problems that would come up in their personal lives and in their babysitting. That's all you need to know.
These two other friends of theirs, the one girl, Claudia Key, she lives down the street, and that's her phone. They would meet in Claudia's bedroom, and this is Stacy McGill, this one, who moved there from New York City. Okay, so those were the main 4, and on the back of the book it tells, guys, sorry guys, I've had this book forever, so it's a little, it's very well loved. Here you go, Christy Thomas, president, Marianne Spears, secretary, Claudia Kishi, vice president, Stacy McGill, treasurer. Anyways, super cute book, and I really, really just love this series. It's the kind of thing where I stayed up late at night, in my bed, just reading, just enjoying these books so much. P.S. I collected more of these books as an adult, and I have a bunch in the other room, and I borrowed this specific one from a child a few years ago and never gave it back.
I appreciate that as a random confession. That's a little funny.
Okay, so why am I making this video?
So bit like Judy Blume books? I never read the Judy Blume books, so I can't say.
There's a few reasons. So Anne M. Martin is a lesbian, and she's come out as a lesbian. This is not a secret. And
okay.
There's some pretty
why would it need to be a secret?
Questionable things written in these books that I remember reading as a child and going it's the kind of thing where I sat up in bed and read it a few times, and it stayed with me until I was an adult. And I remember several years back, actually a while back, Googling if anybody else remembered that, and there was
Is
some
this just
girl
going to be problematic shit in the books? Because they're from the 80s and 90s. I'm sure there's problematic stuff in there.
On the internet who was just turned out to be a lesbian, but she was kind of dragging Anne M. Martin for some of the stuff that was written in those books. And she remembered the same things that I did. So starting off with Christy Thomas, a lot of people say that Anne M. Martin was dropping hints that Christy Thomas was, a lesbian, even though they never talked about her sexuality. She was a tomboy, and she started this baseball team. That's her. She started the Christy Crushers, Little League baseball team.
Okay.
And Christy would never wear a dress, and, she made...
She's wearing a dress in this picture.
Her as tomboyish as possible. We're talking...
Yeah, that's an archetype. In particular in the 80s and 90s, that was a popular archetype, because for the first time, it had been historically not, socially acceptable for girls to, behave in ways that were considered more boyish, and by boyish I mean wearing pants instead of dresses or skirts, or being interested in competitive sports, or you know, anything that would be considered not girly enough.
If these books existed in the 70s and I needed to cast somebody as Christy Thomas, I'd call Christy McNichol in a heartbeat, type of a thing. I need to show you Jessica Ramsey. She became a member of the Babysitters Club a little later on, and you know, they added some diversity. Jessica was a black character that they added, and she was best friends with this other one, Mallory Pike, who I hated. This was my least favorite character, and this was the last book my mom ever bought me. I was just outgrowing them at that point, but yeah, I was not a Mallory Pike fan. All right, guys, I know why you're really here, so let's get into it. I think it was Simon Woods who did a video, a whole video on female authors, and none of them were actually female. I don't remember Anne M. Martin being included on the list that he showed, but we're going to take a look at Anne M. Martin, and something should be jumping out at you right away. Kind of a big old jaw right there, and everything I'm stating.
The obsession with policing the bodies of other people with transvestigators is fascinating. Transvestigation on the bingo card.
This video
Wonder if that list includes J.K. Rowling. I've seen transvestigators transvestigate J.K.
An opinion, observations, not stating facts about anybody's gender, but we're just kind of taking a look, right? Why don't we start the transvestigation?
Okay, I'm not gonna do this one if she's gonna actually talk about the fucking lady and not the characters in the books. I much prefer when she's talking about fictional characters, because otherwise it feels like we're just watching someone body shame other people, and that's not fun to watch. We shall move on until a day when she once again does something like transvestigating the guy from Operation, which she did. Loud.
Shamanism is a religious practice that involves a practitioner interacting with the spirit world through altered states of consciousness, such as a trance. The goal of this is usually to direct spirits or spiritual energies into the physical world, for the purpose of healing, divination, acquiring special skills, knowledge, or to aid human beings in some other way. Historically, shamanism is often associated with indigenous and tribal societies, and involves the belief that shamans, with a connection to the other world, have the power to communicate with spirits and offer their bodies as a medium to the spirit world in exchange for special abilities. There are many variations of shamanism throughout the world, but several common beliefs are shared by all forms of shamanism. Common beliefs among all shamans worldwide includes the following. Spirits exist, and they play important roles, both in individual lives and in human society.
That's not specific to shamans! Like, this guy's a Christian. Christians believe that. They just might have different words for what they call those spirits, demons, angels, whatever. What?
Second common belief is that the shaman can...
Do I have Poltergeist on DVD? I have Poltergeist on 4K. Poltergeist 2 is coming out on 4K soon.
...communicate with the spirit world.
And it's on my wish list. Wink.
And acts as a medium for spirits in this other realm. Within the comparative beliefs of all shamans, there exist two main forms of communication with the spirits. The first is known as the trance of possession. Through this trance-like state, the shaman is possessed and gets into an intense mental state and shows superhuman strength, knowledge, and special abilities. The second form of communication is known as the wandering trance. In active or wandering trances, the shaman's life functions decrease to an abnormal minimum. In this trance-like state, the soul of the shaman leaves his body and enters the spirit realm. After awakening from this trance state, he relates his experience to his tribe, where he wandered and with whom he spoke. There are also cases in which possession and wandering are combined. as when the spirit first enters the shaman and then leads his soul to the world of supernatural beings. King Solomon once said, "There is nothing new under the sun. That which has been done
Yeah, but like, what did that guy know? He wanted to cut a baby in half.
will be done again. That which has existed will exist again." Although the name shamanism is not often used in the practices of our secular societies, the spiritual practice of the ancient shamans is still being used to this day, but has been relabeled as something else entirely. Aleister Crowley is one of the most well-known
Gotta put Crowley on the bingo card one of these days. He's been popping up a lot lately.
occultists in the early 20th century. He has been seen as an inspiration to those within the music and film industries. In his book, Magic in Theory and Practice, Aleister Crowley stated that there are three main methods that can be used.
I want to read his books just because conspiracy theorists talk about him, and it would behoove me to be familiar with his works. But I feel like I'm gonna cringe my brain out if I have to read this guy's crap.
Used to invoke a deity into a person's
Wasn't the whole bifurcating baby thing a goof? Not a goof, it was more a test to figure out who the actual mother was.
life.
It was like, two women came to him and they're like, "This baby is mine." They were both claiming the baby was theirs. And then Solomon, in order to determine who the real mother was, said, "I know, we will cut the baby in half, and each of you will get half." And then one of the women was like, no, she can have the baby. And the other was like, "I'm cool with cutting it in half." And Solomon is like, "Ah, yes, the one who said she can have the whole baby must be the real mother, because only the real mother would not want this baby cut in half." And I want to know, I know this is someone else, this has got to be someone else's bit. Someone must have made this observation. Maybe I even did at some point when talking about the Bible. What was this other lady gonna do with this baby half? Like, the other woman in that story is like, I mean, if I can't have a whole baby, half a baby's fine. What are you doing with half a baby? And which half? Did she care? Did she care? I don't know.
There are three main methods for invoking any deity. The third method is the dramatic, perhaps the most attractive of all. Certainly it is so to the artist's temperament, for it appeals to his imagination through his aesthetic sense.
Making soup? Nah, see, I think if you have half a baby, the first night you make baby roast, and then with like the trimmings and the bones, the next day you make a broth.
Aleister Crowley essentially says that the third method to invoke a spirit is the most dramatic and attractive method, because it appeals to man's imagination and aesthetic sense. The method that Aleister Crowley is referring to is method acting. Method acting is a range of rehearsal techniques, as formulated by a number of different theater practitioners. This method seeks to encourage sincere and expressive performances through identifying with, understanding, and experiencing a character's inner motivation and emotions. Essentially, a method actor is someone who uses these techniques to achieve such a high level of character immersion that they temporarily transform into their character, even off stage or off camera. This technique has been used by shamans for thousands of years.
So he thinks method acting, which is cringe, but cringe isn't evil. He thinks method acting is demonic. Well, shamanic, but he considers shamanic to be demonic, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
To immerse themselves into the character of the spirits, so that the shaman can invoke and channel these entities through their bodies. In the book Actors on Acting, the Greek philosopher Socrates is quoted saying that the muse inspires men through possession. In like manner, the muse first of all...
And if I want an accurate view of the world, I listen to classical philosophers who had such good ideas as rocks go to bottom of water because it's cold, and rocks are cold, and it wants to go to where it's cold.
Inspires men herself.
Why does fire go up? Because that's where the sun is. Fire is sun, sun is fire, fire go to sun.
Because they are inspired and...
Again, classical philosophers are great and were instrumental in shaping Western thought. But maybe don't take them literally on everything they said, because they were very wrong about a lot of things. The thing that was instrumental in society was even the concept of thinking about things and defining them through models.
Possessed. They are simply inspired to utter
Heat
that
from fire, fire from heat.
which the muse impels them. For not by art or knowledge do you say what you say, but by possession. In Greek mythology, the muses are the inspirational goddesses of literature, science, and the arts. They were considered the source of the knowledge embodied in the poetry, lyric songs, and myths that were related orally for centuries in ancient Greek culture. Hollywood's biggest A-list actors have admitted directly and indirectly that they channel spirits from another world in order to help them with their performances.
Okay, which spirit came into Johnny Depp to do the Willy Wonka reboot? Because he deserves an ass kicking. That was awful. Altered Undying says, only valid method acting is Margot Robbie sending Ryan Gosling beach-themed presents during the filming of Barbie. Oh, I didn't know about that. That's kind of cute.
Jack Nicholson is a well-known iconic method actor who would frighten even his own coworkers.
Okay, let me be clear about something. As someone who's big into movies and the whole industry, method acting, I understand getting into character and trying to stay in that headspace, that's fine. But the second it starts fucking with other people, aka Jared Leto on the set of Suicide Squad, go fuck yourself. Jim Carrey on the set of Man on the Moon, if that stuff is true and not just its own sort of meta bit, fuck that. Ridiculous.
On the sets of films that he's done. He has done many iconic roles during his career as an actor, such as the Joker in The Batman, and Jack Torrance in The Shining, among
The Batman,
many other roles.
In Batman, 1989.
One of his most well-known performances is Jack Torrance in the horror film The Shining. Jack Nicholson was said to have become so immersed in his character of Jack Torrance, a writer who slowly descends into madness, that he would often act erratically on set even when the cameras were not rolling.
Come on, you. Oh, come on, Dad. Come on.
Again, here he's not fucking with people on set. He's just trying to emotionally work himself up in the moment right before they're about to shoot what appears to be the Here's Johnny scene, which is one of the most pivotal shots in the movie and film history. So I get that, but I don't know, he's not being a dick here. He's just trying to, like, get his, you know, adrenaline going because he's about to do a very intense scene where he needs to look like a crazy person. And yes, Kubrick is pretty fucking wild.
Well, wait for Shelley. Shelley, die. Axe murder, kill.
Axe murderer kill.
Right, you just say turn over.
Famous actress Shirley MacLaine once stated during a speech at the American Film Institute that during a filming of a movie scene with her co-star Jack Nicholson, she heard two voices come out of Jack's mouth simultaneously. This surprised Jack Nicholson himself.
And then we launched into the first take, and two voices came out of you. Do you remember this? Two voices, and they were simultaneous words, but they were two levels of sound. And I looked over at you. You were amazed. I was amazed, and you said, "Well, sure, Cheryl, I'm many different people." I said, "No, Jack, you're channeling."
Nicolas Cage is another well-known method
the bees!
actor. During an interview with Insider, Nicolas Cage likened the process of acting to shamanism. He even states that he uses the practices of shamanism to immerse himself into the role of a character.
You've developed an acting discipline that you've referred to as nouveau shamanic, is that correct?
Nouveau shamanic. Yeah, one of his inspirations for his acting style is the Beast from Jacques Cousteau's Beauty and the Beast adaptation, French silent film from, I want to say the 20s, which is visually quite stunning. Have you ever seen Nicolas Cage actually do an interview and talk about his, like, actual process of acting? It's pretty interesting. Some of it's kind of like woo-woo bullshit, but it is interesting, and you can tell he has a great passion for the art form and thinks it through even if he comes off as unhinged.
What are the core principles?
I've been told that all actors really hail from the early medicine men and the shamans in the villages pre-Christianity, where they would put on masks and act out, and really they were probably pretty crazy, but they would go in and find answers to questions. Today you're called psychotic if you do that. but it's all semantics. So what I would do is I'd put on Afro-Caribbean paint, like a white and black paint, and black out my eyes so I look like this sort of Afro-Caribbean voodoo icon. And then I would sew in bits of Egyptian artifacts that were thousands of years old into my costume and gather some onyx or tourmaline or something that was meant to have vibrations. And who knows if it works or doesn't, but for me it was an idea of like trying to stimulate my...
Like, I love this, because even he's acknowledging, like, this is bullshit, but it helps him get into some kind of fucking headspace to play Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider 2, The Spirit of Vengeance. On some level, I love that. It's complete bullshit, but even he kind of acknowledges it, so, like, if it helps him, I guess whatever. Also, bring back Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider. There's a lot of things about Nick Cage, but I think he played a good Ghost Rider. I believe this man's skull bursts into flame on occasion and he makes people witness the pain of the sins they've wrought upon others.
My mind, or trick my mind into believing I was this character from another dimension. And I would walk on the set and then wouldn't speak to anybody, wouldn't say a word, so I projected this aura of horror, which created fear in my fellow actors, which then inspired me to believe I really was this character.
Exciting, I'd love to be on set with you.
Yeah, thanks.
The Ghost Rider movies are good. Here's the thing about legends. Sometimes they're true.
I hope you guys found this video very fruitful, and I hope this video helps you understand that once again there truly is nothing new under the sun. The things that were practiced in ancient times are still being practiced today. The things that existed in ancient times exist today. The only difference is these things have been relabeled as something else. Please let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments below. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon. The link to that is in the bio below. Thank you so much for all the support. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Till next time.
Alright, I think we're gonna call it a night. Thanks everyone for hanging out for about 4 hours. I appreciate it. Let's see who we're gonna raid on Twitch. VC Archives is still live. Yep, she is. Excellent. Oh my goodness, TNG. Classic. Alright, have a great night, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to be streaming a little early tomorrow because I have plans for the 4th, so I'll be streaming around 11 a.m. Eastern. So if that's too early for you, if you're going to sleep in, I hope you have a great holiday tomorrow if you're from the States like I am. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you the next day on Friday. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I appreciate it, and have a great night. Bye-bye.